Chapter 858. We're just upholding justice. Why are you arresting us? One of the female university students bit her lip and communicated with him. It's clearly that woman who deliberately bullied our UU. However, hearing this, the chief could not help but sneer. Since you can uphold justice, why do you need us? You've already caused injuries and caused a bad impact. You have to bear legal responsibility. Another recorder said coldly, including your so-called idols. If the situation is serious, we will apply for her to be banned from performing in our nation. With that said, the expression of the manager who had just gotten out of the car changed. It was not easy for them to become the female lead of Qin Yu's MV. If they could not perform in our nation, wouldn't they ruin their international development? No one thought why it was so serious. At this moment, Lu Zhongzhou also glanced at them coldly. Tan Nan said softly to the chief, I want to assist you in your investigation. That person's information might still be in their hands. The chief nodded reasonably. No problem. They had done a lot of work to invite that person over this time. Of course, nothing could happen to her in Neely. Not long after, Qin Yu received a notice from Yang Xian. The marketing that Han Yu had gotten someone to buy seemed to have been dealt with. Even Han Yu and her team's main accounts had been blocked. They did not know the reason yet. In the car, someone has already dealt with the matter. Their behavior this time is bad. I'll apply for the higher-ups to deal with these artistes. Lu Zhongzhou had just finished speaking when he was rejected. Qin Yu can't do it. This caused Lu Zhongzhou to be stunned. After Bei Yunj felt Lu Zhongzhou and the others' gazes, she said calmly, That's my second brother. With that said, only then did the others react. She was a rich young lady. Some time ago, she had even appeared on a show with Qin Yu. However, the show was live-streamed and Bei Yunj's scenes were cut out of the recording. At the police station, Han Yu's expression did not look too good. She finally knew what Bei Yunj meant when she said, There's a good place for you later. At the police station, Han Yu bit her lip. Her face was illuminated by the dazzling white light. Soon, someone came to interrogate her. This did not look like an ordinary crime at all, making Han Yu and the rest feel afraid. In one night, Han Yu and the others had vomited everything they wanted to vomit. He was arranged to be deported back to his country. After the fans woke up, they knew that they were being used. They all actively wrote self-reflections and wanted to go home as soon as possible. The next day, Han Yu had directly made the headlines. The financier originally wanted to interfere, but after knowing who the person who touched Han Yu was, he immediately pretended to be dead. In the morning, after Bei Yunj was arranged to have breakfast, she went to the award ceremony venue. Because Farisk was the grand prize, the award ceremony was held in Neely's largest church from the last century. The people who entered the venue were all people who had won international awards. Some of them were also representatives of the companies that had invested in them. Higgins Group used to be the #1 technology group, so they always had this opportunity to see the real faces of these gods that they usually couldn't see. Shang Yan, do you think I can support that lass with you just because you brought me here? Fan Zhiqing chuckled. Shang Yan said slowly, I'm helping you so that you won't stand on the wrong side. Fan Zhiqing was the heir of the Fan Group in a country. He focused on scientific research and had always cooperated with the Higgins Group. Chapter 859. I say, don't tell me you're chasing after that little brat? How is my Wei Yu worse than that little girl who doesn't know anything? Fan Zhiqing asked in confusion. Stop talking nonsense. You can go in now, Shang Yan said calmly without changing his expression. Then, Fan Zhiqing looked around curiously. When he saw an old man with white hair, his eyes widened. Look, it's Mr. Huntington, the first mathematician to solve the 800 questions. However, Huntington didn't seem to appear often, even at award ceremonies. Why was he here this time? Soon, Fan Zhiqing got an answer. His eyes lit up. Yes. This woman was too amazing. She solved the 800 questions twice in one go. In other words, these heavyweight researchers were not here for the Farisk Award ceremony, but because this was S Award ceremony. I suddenly want to know what looks like. Fan Zhiqing couldn't help but yearn. She was a super genius who was praised both at home and abroad. In the past, at every award ceremony, there would be people who felt that their supporters were better than the winner. But this time, the mathematicians who won the award with her were indifferent. They didn't think that anyone else could win this award. She solved 2 of the 800 questions in one go. This was very similar to the hype on the internet. However, this person was a true big shot. There's no hurry. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Xiang Yan glanced at him, his tone unclear. On the stage, the researchers who knew each other greeted each other and exchanged pleasantries, but they couldn't help but take a few more glances outside. It was as if they were waiting for someone to arrive. In the car. Pei Pei, are you nervous? Lu Zhongzhou looked like a big brother, but he treated Bai Yunj like his own daughter. Bai Yunj played with the maps of the gods and said lazily, "Just oh." It wasn't her first time winning an award. But to them, it was her first time. Then, have you prepared your acceptance speech? Lu Zhongzhou asked. Bai Yunj said slowly, "Yes." God Lu, why are you more nervous than Miss Pei? A team member couldn't help but snicker, but was beaten up by Lu Zhongzhou. Not long after. After getting out of the car, Bai Yunj was about to bring her people in, but she was stopped at the door. "I'm sorry, but there are already a lot of security guards inside. Miss, you can't bring anyone else in." Someone stopped her. Hearing this, just as Lu Zhongzhou and the others were about to leave, they heard Bai Yunj's clear voice. "Those are not security personnel. They are soldiers from our country." Lu Zhongzhou and the others subconsciously glanced at Bai Yunj, and their hearts warmed. But Bai Yunj did not intend to give in and let these people stay outside. "This is my award ceremony. Are you going to leave my friends outside?" Bai Yunj's beautiful eyes were full of playfulness. "Then you can continue." Without waiting for Lu Zhongzhou and the others to react, he turned around and got back into the car to continue playing the game. It was a typical look of, father doesn't like to cooperate. "Pei Pei, we're all happy that you won an award. We're waiting for you outside instead of squatting on the streets." Lu Zhongzhou and the others had a good relationship with Bai Yunj. Seeing that this ancestor was not cooperating again, they couldn't help but coax him. Bai Yunj also had special feelings for these people. After all, since her previous life, these people in this special profession had protected her with their lives and accompanied her as she grew up. "Come up and sit down." Bai Yunj's indifferent tone didn't allow them to refuse. P.S. Be good and remember the monthly ticket. Chapter 860. Lu Zhongzhou, Tan Nan, and the others. This ancestor was really not that easy to persuade. Bai Yunj leaned against the leather seat and looked at the long road outside. She said unhurriedly, "It's just an award. If you guys like it, I'll get more next time. I'll give each of you one." These words were very arrogant, but they did not think that Bai Yunj could not do it. Then, just as everyone was feeling touched, Bai Yunj suddenly turned around. "All right, I saw the ice cream truck again just now." Everyone. They suddenly suspected that Bai Yunj had just cheated them of a wave of favorability points so that they would agree to let her buy ice cream. On the way just now, Bai Yunj saw the ice cream truck. But no one thought that they could eat ice cream so early in the morning. Moreover, it was an award ceremony later. Lu Zhongzhou looked at Tan Nan and asked for his opinion. Tan Nan's voice was gentle. "Let's buy it." A few minutes later, the organizers of Ferisk realized that something was wrong. Everyone was almost here, but why was the most important person missing? Soon, a representative walked to the door and asked, "Is there anyone else who isn't here?" "Sir, a young lady came and left just now." After the security guard told him about the general situation, the expression of the organizer's representative became more and more ugly. This young lady was most likely. "Ah! Quick, 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 go find Mr. Zhong Shanglin and the others." The representative instantly panicked. 10 minutes later, the long green car was slowly driving towards the award ceremony hall. Bai Yunj leisurely dug into the soft candy ice cream. As for those men who said that they did not like to eat such sweet snacks, at this moment, each of them was holding a small bucket, their faces full of happiness. "What's wrong with that boss? He even chased after him for more than 10 minutes to buy ice cream." Bai Yunj looked at the angry Lu Zhongzhou and could not help but smile. Who wouldn't be afraid of being chased by a military vehicle? It was no wonder that the boss sped up crazily. Lu Zhongzhou was chasing after him and shouting. How could he not be scared? When their car arrived at the entrance again, the security guard almost cried tears of joy. He ran up to her. "Miss Yu. You should go in quickly." Bei Yunj didn't even look up. She continued to bite on her ice cream spoon. "If they don't go in, why should I?" The security guards couldn't handle it well and immediately called a representative over. Not long after, the representative came up with an apologetic smile. "Excuse me, are you Miss?" "Yes," Bei Yunj answered casually. When the representative heard this, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. He sized up the beautiful and languid girl in front of him. If this was placed in front of anyone, no one would think that she was. Your friends can naturally go in together. It's just that we're still asking the leaders to let your friend enter. The representative immediately smiled and said, "I'm sorry about what happened just now. Why don't you go in first and let these gentlemen follow me to register?" Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes. It was difficult for her to see through her emotions. The representative was anxious, afraid that this person would quit at the last minute. Tan Nan suddenly said, You go in first. We'll look for you after we register." Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and glanced at the representative. Her lips curved. "Then I'll leave my friend to you." "Don't worry, this won't be a problem." The representative heaved a sigh of relief and looked at Tan Nan gratefully. After Bei Yunj got out of the car, she happened to be seen by a familiar person. Old Mr. Angel. Chapter 861. Angel frowned, his face filled with displeasure and coldness. "Why is she here?" "The higher-ups in the same industry. This is the one who made Lilia drop out of school." Angel sneered. "Is this a place where she can come?" Maybe it's Delaney's connection. The higher-ups still knew about Lilia's expulsion last time. This matter was very big. After all, Lilia had filmed several movies and was considered a public figure. Seeing Angel's anger, a dark look flashed across the higher-ups' eyes. They smiled and said, "Sir, have you forgotten that Lilia's teacher, Tenzin Yano, is also here today?" Angel turned to look at him. "You mean, if we give her a show of strength now, everyone will know that she's someone who offended Professor Yano?" The higher-ups had ill intentions. When Angel heard this, he hesitated. "But Principal Worrell seems to be. Neely University has a close relationship with the Delaney Group now. We can't take anything Principal Worrell says seriously." The higher-ups' words dispelled Angel's worries. That was indeed the case. Ever since Lilia was expelled, Angel felt that he could not take this lying down. How could a member of the Angel family be bullied by a little girl like her? Thinking of this, Angel's face darkened and he walked in. It was time to make that Bei Yunj pay the price. Bei Yunj threw the ice cream box outside before handing her invitation to the guard. The guard's gaze fell on the name written on it, and his expression changed instantly. He suddenly looked up. "You're why?" After the guard came back to his senses, he immediately said respectfully, "Please come in, Mississippi." Bei Yunj narrowed her eyes. "Thank you." In the auditorium. Inside were neatly dressed ladies and gentlemen. Most of them were older, but their temperaments were refined. Not long after Bei Yunj entered the venue, she was glanced at by everyone. Soon, their interest was dispelled and they moved away. They thought that she was a student brought by a professor. Bei Yunj was looking for her seat when she suddenly heard a voice not far away. "You are the one who transferred my student to another school?" Bei Yunj turned around and saw a middle-aged man in his 40s. She thought for a while and suddenly laughed. "Which one are you talking about?" These words instantly made Tensei Servano's expression turn ugly. Where did such an uneducated little girl come from? "Lilia is my student." Tenya Servano's tone was cold as he gritted his teeth. "It's her." Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows. There was a hint of playfulness in his eyes. "So, are you here to apologize to me?" "What arrogance." Tensei Servano also sneered. "Can you accept my apology?" Suddenly, everyone's attention was attracted by Tenya Yano. Whose student is Tenya Servano arguing with? Someone began to discuss. Who knows? Whose student is that? He's so insensible that he actually dared to challenge Tenya Yano. Someone laughed. He was this year's Farisk nominee. Many people wanted to build a good relationship with him. Is it necessary for Tenya Yano to do that? Arguing with a student? Huntington, who was standing in the distance, could not help but frown when he heard about this matter. It said that the student transferred his student, so he wants to teach this student a lesson in public. P.S. Thank you to the children who voted for Master Pei. Master Pei maintained his ranking well this month. Are there any children who voted for Master Pei this month to stabilize his ranking? Chapter 862. The more Huntington listened, the more he felt that it was outrageous. He frowned and walked over. He heard Tensei Yano say to the girl, "Student, your methods are very impressive. You can make my student drop out of school. Unfortunately, the scientific research community can't tolerate people like you who have bad intentions. Do you want to walk out yourself, or do you want me to ask the security to escort you out?" If she was really chased out by Farisk, it would be a stain on her record in the future. Not far away, Angel saw that Tensei Yano was also making things difficult for Bei Yunj and felt much more at ease. Since she doesn't leave a way out for herself at such a young age, then don't blame others for not giving her a way out. Angel sneered. But who knew? Originally, anyone else present would be afraid of this kind of thing, but the girl in front of him had a carefree expression. Is that so? Since... Before Bei Yunj could finish speaking, he suddenly heard a serious elder speak. Tensei Yano, don't you think that what you're doing is unbefitting of your status? Bei Yunj recognized the person in front of him in the blink of an eye. On the wall of fame of the School of Science of Neela University, the first mathematician to have his portrait placed on it was Huntington. Bei Yunj was a little surprised that the person in front of him would speak up for him. Mr. Huntington, this matter doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Are you her teacher? Tensei Yano was aggressive instead. Everyone respected Huntington, but he didn't think much of it. This was because he would soon become the third person to solve the question of the 1,008 questions. Huntington frowned. No. Then what do you mean by protecting her so much? Tensei Yano sneered. Although you were invited to this award ceremony, I'm one of the main characters of this award ceremony. As soon as he finished speaking, no one said anything. I've already asked someone to contact the security. I hope Mr. Huntington can do his job well. Tensei Yano did not back down. At this moment, Bei Yunj had already found a seat and sat in the first row. He did not pay much attention to Tensei Yano. This scene also made the others frown. Was this seat something she could sit in? The first row was filled with big shots who could stand at the peak of the scientific research community. She, a student who didn't know how she got in, actually dared to sit in the first row. How rude. She didn't know whose seat she was sitting in. However, Huntington suddenly realized that the seat Bei Yunj was sitting in was on his right. It seemed like in the center of the first row. Usually, it seemed that only the winners would sit in that position. Huntington remembered what Marcus had said last time. She seemed to be a very young and beautiful girl. However, he thought that no matter how young she was, she would be around 26 or 28 years old. And the person in front of him seemed to be in his early 20s at most. Soon, the security guards arrived. Professor Tenya Yavano, what happened? The student in the first row. If you don't chase me out, then don't let me attend this award ceremony. Tensei Servano said coldly. When the security guard heard this, he subconsciously looked embarrassed and walked to the first row. Unfortunately, it was a familiar face. The security guard was stunned and said in surprise, "Miss, why are you here?" As soon as he finished speaking, the researchers who were drinking red wine spat it out. There was also the sound of a wine glass shattering. All the big shots present froze, doubting their ears. The atmosphere was cold and strange. Chapter 863. So this was not anyone's student but the one they wanted to see the most today. No one had ever thought that he would be so young. Bei Yunj glanced at the security guard and raised his eyebrows. Do you need me to go out with you? Hearing this, the staff member shook his head violently. He had goosebumps all over his body. Please sit down. Sit down properly. What a joke. This person's temper was obviously not very good. How dare he go against the gun? Then wasn't he crazy? Bei Yunj leaned back in his seat casually. He propped up his head with his hand and gently pressed his fingers against his temples. He said slowly, "Thank you. I thought you invited me here today to teach me how to be a person." Everyone was speechless. Instantly, the atmosphere became even colder. Who would dare to teach him how to be a person? At this moment, Tenya Servano's expression was ugly. He was still in disbelief. But the next moment, he heard a familiar teasing voice. "Who is this? Who provoked us at the award ceremony?" Everyone turned their heads and saw Marcus and Zhong Shanglin appear. But for some reason, they felt that the two people in front of them were strange. Several older researchers subconsciously touched their sparse hair on the top of their heads. Why did their hair seem to be a little out of place? Bei Yunj glanced at them lazily and asked leisurely, "When will the award ceremony end? I want to return to Yun Cheng as soon as possible." These words made the big researchers present sober up. If she left so soon, how could they build a good relationship with her? Many people wanted to go up and talk to her, but she was sitting in the first row and did not have the face to do so. Similarly, Tenya Servano's face turned pale and he was sweating all over. He did not expect that the person he had just humiliated was actually... Has Angel lost his mind? She actually asked him to offend? Even though he and were both nominees, he was sitting at the edge of the second row while was sitting in the center of the first row. This was also the difference in status in the industry. There are still many interesting places in Neely. Why are you going back so early? Marcus walked over and sat on Bei Yunja's right with Zhong Shanglin. The first row was filled with big shots in the industry. Everyone had different thoughts in their minds, and the way they looked at Tenya Servano changed. Fortunately, he didn't say anything to Tenya Servano just now. Otherwise, not only would this trip be in vain, but they would also offend this year's new scientific researcher. Bei Yunj said half-heartedly, "I still have to revise. The college entrance examination is coming up next year." Everyone. So Bei Yunj was still a senior in high school? Was Country A's luck this year? This wasn't just a super genius that had appeared out of nowhere. At such a young age, one could imagine how frightening her strength would be in the future. College entrance exam? You need to take the college entrance exam to go to Yun University? Then why don't you come to Neely University and promise me? Marcus took the opportunity to poach people. Looking at Marcus' sneaky appearance, Zhong Shanglin wanted to pull out his newly planted hair. "Old Ma, look at the second floor." Zhong Shanglin gestured with a fake smile. When Marcus heard this, he instinctively looked up and saw Lu Zhongzhou and the other 20 people. "Do you know the consequences of touching our national treasure?" Zhong Shanglin asked with a smile, but there was a sinister aura to it. His gaze seemed to sweep past Tenya Servano. "Marcus, Tenya Servano. P.S. There will be an explosive update in 2 days. I'm writing overnight." Chapter 864. Obviously. This young scientific researcher was the apple of Country A's eye. Bei Yunj couldn't help but twitch her eyelids. She looked up and scanned the second floor. It was a lounge with a glass wall. Although there were sofas at the back, Lu Zhongzhou and the rest still walked out and stood by the railing. The award ceremony was about to begin. Tenya Yano, who was at the edge of the second row, also clenched his fists, feeling a little flustered. He was afraid that he would find trouble with him later. The top entrepreneurs who could only be seen on television had also finished their small talk and returned to their seats from the hall. Their gazes drifted to the first row, and their intentions were clear. For, usually, there wouldn't be so many technology companies present at the Ferisk ceremony. But this time, they clearly had a purpose. "There are too many people. I can't see the big boss in the first row. Do you think she's here?" Fan Zhiqing couldn't help but mutter. That was the most famous scientific researcher in their country this year. In addition to the Ferisk Prize this time, she was also nominated for the Busaka Prize. The one and only God-level big boss. Xiang Yan also received a reply to the message he sent to Bei Yunj. His brows relaxed. "She's here." "Really? Which one in the first row? Did you see her?" Fan Zhiqing was extremely excited. However, Xiang Yan was talking to him about something else. "Perform well when you go to the company tomorrow. After today, she'll be free to come to the company." Fan Zhiqing frowned and said with a hint of disdain, "Xiang Yan, is she worth your effort? Do you have to spoil the mood on this occasion?" At this point he sneered. "I've never seen an air so big. She hasn't even met the company's elders and she's already stood them up twice. Does she really think she's the future head of the family? Fan Zhiqing had a bad impression of this heir who had never appeared. Especially the projects she brought. No one was allowed to touch them. However, Xiang Yan only listened to her. Seeing that he was so resistant, Xiang Yan didn't say anything else. At this moment, Angel was below the stage, listening to the opening speech of the ceremony. He naturally turned his head and asked his people calmly, "How is it? Has that person been chased out?" This was the best lesson he could give Bai Yunj. Come to think of it, he must have a deep impression of her. So what if he managed to climb up to the Fernan's family? No one would pay any attention to a madam who had not yet ascended to the position of patriarch. At this moment, the higher-ups who had just returned were panting, but they didn't look too good. "Sir, that person seems to be..." As soon as he finished speaking. Suddenly, an accident happened on the stage. The guest of honor of the award ceremony was a relatively young researcher. Before the award ceremony, he intentionally or unintentionally said some words about country A. There was a sense of superiority in his expression. This made Zhong Shanglin, who was sitting in the first row, look gloomy. In the second row, Tan Nan, who understood the foreign language, had a dark expression on his face. In the arena, no one burst into laughter because of his purposeful joking tone. Seeing that the atmosphere had cooled down, the guest presenter cut to the chase. He smiled and said, "Then let's welcome the winner of this year's Farisk Mathematics Prize to the stage." After saying that, he smiled casually and said, "Everyone, please give him a round of applause. It's rare for a scholar from country A to come on stage." As soon as he finished speaking, no one felt that this was the time to applaud. The atmosphere fell into a silent silence. And the person sitting in the middle of the first row lazily crossed her legs and rested her head with one hand. Her beautiful eyes were filled with playfulness and danger as she looked at him. She had no intention of going on stage. Chapter 865. Marcus was the first to speak with a cold warning. This is the academic circle, not a political stage. Disgust rose in everyone's hearts. Was he trying to embarrass others or was he trying to ruin his own reputation by speaking in such an inappropriate manner on this occasion? Tisk, it's just a joke. Miss can't possibly reject it, right? The guest said word by word with a smile. This is the Farisk Prize. Everyone needs such a prize to go down in history. As soon as he finished speaking, on the second floor, a hint of hostility flashed across Tan Nan's eyes. His fingers caressed the black and cold wooden body, trying his best to suppress something. Suddenly, the people in the first row stood up. It was an outrageously young and beautiful girl. Her bright eyes were wild and arrogant. One look and one could tell that she was not someone to be trifled with. At this moment, after Angel saw the back view clearly, he felt that it was familiar. That person is... Angel froze and watched as Bai Yunj stood on stage, her side profile slowly appearing. How could it be her? Why hadn't she left yet and even appeared on stage? Soon, a terrifying thought appeared in Angel's mind. No way. Impossible. How could it be? How could it be her? Angel muttered to himself, his face pale and his entire body weak. How could she be? Angel denied it in his heart, but soon, all the things that could not be explained before were answered. Delaney's protection of her, Principal Worrell's respect for her. Why was it her? Why did it have to be her? Suddenly, before anyone could react, the guest on stage fell off the stage. This scene caused everyone to be dumbstruck, and it was deathly silent. If they were not mistaken, she had just kicked this 8-meter-tall male guest off the stage? What a ruthless big boss. Marcus could not come back to his senses. He could not help but ask Zhong Shanglin, "Is this really the girl that Lan Jun raised?" Zhong Shanglin. It should be, right? Lan Jun had been as gentle as water all her life. Back when she won the biology award overseas and was mocked by the host, she only blushed and said a few words of sarcasm. But this person, the moment he stepped onto the stage, he directly kicked him off the stage. The atmosphere in the audience made everyone afraid to move. This scene stunned even Tan Nan and the others on the second floor. Miss Pei was as ruthless as ever. After that, Everyone had goosebumps on their backs as they felt deep respect for this big shot. Who the hell dared to kick their guest presenter at the Farisk Awards? Since you don't mind that you can't control your mouth, then don't mind that I can't control my legs. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows. He looked unruly, but there was an intimidating aura in his eyes that made people feel inexplicably afraid. Bei Yunj looked at the trophy on the ground, picked it up slowly, and wiped it with a clean handkerchief. She chuckled, her eyes full of youthful vigor. Then she said casually, "However, there is a need to clarify something. It's not that I lack any awards. It's that your awards are still lacking." These words were ostentatious and unruly, but they stirred up the hearts of everyone and made their blood boil. It was too hot. Even Fan Zhuqing, who was below the stage, could not help but follow the girl on the stage who was more dazzling than the light. She was born to be convincing. Zhong Xinglin's lips curled up unconsciously. He could see too many possibilities for the young people of this era in her. Chapter 866. Thank you for your attention to our country's scientific research development. Bei Yunj licked her red lips and laughed. She placed one hand on the podium and placed the trophy on the table. Then from today onwards, pay more attention. Because in the next 40 or 60 years, the only one that can surpass is next year's. This speech could be said to be impudent. However, no one dared to clamor below the stage. Everyone was silent. Bei Yunj curled her lips and released the trophy in her hand. She bowed slightly. The humility of a young man could not hide the high spirits in her black eyes. "I'm very honored to be the winner of the Farisk Prize, but I'm ashamed to accept it." Seeing this, Zhong Xinglin hurriedly went forward to stop her. However, he saw Bei Yunj kick the guest who had just presented the award and quickly leave the hall. There was a commotion in the hall. As soon as she finished speaking, the organizers froze, but at this moment, she had already left the stage. Fan Zhuqing felt so good that his scalp turned numb and his eyes lit up. "But she doesn't look old. She seems to be younger than me, right?" Stop dreaming. No one had ever seen someone reject the Farisk Prize before. "Isn't this too handsome?" Fan Zhuqing chuckled. "Is it wrong for me to pursue true love? Of the students, one is Tich and the other is Jasmine." Shang Yan said calmly. "Why? Don't you like that young lady who is your successor?" He had seen Tich and Jasmine before. One was richer than him, and the other was more handsome. It was indeed difficult for her to fancy him. Shang Yan asked slowly, "Which one can you compare to?" Fan Zhuqing. "Good fellow, how ruthless." Angel's expression did not look too good and his steps were erratic. Suddenly, at this moment, Shang Yan turned around and saw Angel sitting in his seat. A dark look flashed across his eyes. In the long car. "Old Mr. Angel." Shang Yan's voice made Angel turn to look at him. Lu Zhongzhou immediately interrupted. "It's already like this? Aren't you the one who spoiled her?" At this moment, the others looked at the dignified captains of Falcon and Wolf as if they were arguing about the education of children. Lu Zhongzhou looked at this audacious guy with a pained expression. "What are you doing? That's the Farisk Prize. You refuse to accept it and even hit someone? Are you trying to ascend to heaven?" Tan Nen said, "All right, it's already like this." At this moment, Zhong Xinglin sighed and explained to Lu Zhongzhou what the guest had said on stage. The scene was very strange. Bei Yunj. Very soon, after Lu Zhongzhou learned the truth, he suddenly understood why Bei Yunj had hit him on the spot. If it were him, he would beat him up too. Almost everyone was shocked. Not long after, the person involved revealed that not only did she refuse to accept the Farisk Prize, she even hit him, a guest presenter. This matter also started to spread on the internet. The news about #Farisk's rejection spread from the external network to the internal network of country A. There were also shouts on the external network, asking for an apology. When most people on the internal network found out about this, their first reaction was shock. Later on, they felt that this matter was her attitude was arrogant and her actions were extremely vile. This caused public outrage. There were all kinds of comments online. Is there anything this woman doesn't dare to do? F***CK, so ruthless. Is this the big boss? Chapter 867. I don't know why, but I feel that it's not necessary to do this. The moment she changed her nationality, there were more than 10,000 comments? She's clearly in the wrong. She hit someone and refused to accept it. The public opinion in the country is too scary. That's right. The netizens are all scolding her. So what if she's a little talented? Her sense of superiority is too strong. She's a disgrace to us people. The upstairs is wrong. There are hundreds of millions of views, doghead. In my comment section, only the guest presenter spoke about this matter. Is what he said true? She would rather kneel down and suck up to an international friend. It's even more embarrassing for a people. She received an award and refused to accept it. She's not pleasing to the eye? Then you can take it next time, doghead. This group of unruly people. How can they judge my goddess blindly? They don't know anything and they dare to talk nonsense. Fan Zhiqing scratched his hair angrily. Xiang Yan glanced at him and slowly took a sip of tea. Tidy up. She'll be here soon. I'm not interested. Whoever wants to see her can see her. Fan Zhiqing crossed his legs. He didn't like the heir who stood him up twice. Then, just as Xiang Yan was about to say something, a phone call suddenly came. Xiang Yan answered and the corners of his lips curled up unconsciously. Okay, it's okay. Come over in the afternoon. Hearing this, Fan Zhiqing instantly knew who the person who stood him up was. Mrs. Awesome. She stood you up again? Fan Zhiqing sneered. Xiang Yan said unhurriedly, she's at the police station making a statement. Fan Zhiqing. It seemed that this heir was a ruthless character. At the police station. In the hall outside was Tan Nan, who was negotiating with her. Bei Yunj leaned against the wall and glanced at the smug Nan Luo. This was the guest presenter who had been kicked twice by Bei Yunj yesterday. He came in a wheelchair. You didn't expect us to meet again, did you? Nan Luo sneered. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and smiled lazily. 700,000 yuan in medical fees. It's not very expensive. Officer, let me add 2 more kicks. How about adding 1,000,000 yuan? The staff. She was arrogant enough. Nanro's face was full of fear. He asked his assistant to push him further away from Bei Yunj. Stand properly. I'll take a picture of you. The staff led Bei Yunj to a tall wall and prepared to record Bei Yunj's case. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows when she heard that. When the other party was counting down, Bei Yunj hesitated for a moment and slowly made a peace sign. It was the first time the young staff member in charge of taking photos had encountered such a tricky operation. However, the girl in front of him was too beautiful. Her eyes were hesitant and serious. The contrast was inexplicably cute. He coughed lightly and his ears turned red. Well, miss, you only need to. Shortly after. Before the staff member could finish speaking, he was suddenly pushed away by the female staff member who had been staring at Bei Yunj for a long time. That's right. That's it. Miss, come here, let's change the action. The female crew member taught Bei Yunj hand gestures seriously, while the male crew member had a numb look on his face, but he could only force himself to continue filming. During the process, the female crew member couldn't wait to pinch Bei Yunj's face, but she didn't dare to do it. God knew that she was actually a beautiful young lady with a godly face that attracted both men and women. However, just as the female crew member was smiling like an ant, Si Qingyan happened to come to pick her up and witnessed this group of people teaching Master Pei how to act cute. Chapter 868. Bei Yunj felt that there was something wrong with Neely's police station, but seeing how enthusiastic the staff was, she did not say anything. Seeing this, Si Qingyan's scalp started to go numb. Every time this ancestor caused trouble, it was easy for her to admit defeat and act coquettishly to make the elders happy. He actually dared to teach her how to act cute? In the future, when Bei Yunj committed murder and arson, Zhong Shenglin would feel that it was not her fault. Then, when the female staff turned around and saw Si Chengyan, she immediately coughed lightly. It's done. You can leave now, Mississippi. Thank you. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, she had just left the hall with Si Chengyan when the staff suddenly received a call. Then, her expression darkened. Chief, this call just now. The staff could not help but look at Bei Yunj before turning to look at the chief. What happened? Not long after the chief went over to talk, he subconsciously glanced at Bei Yunj. A few minutes later, The chief went forward and smiled at Bei Yunj. "Miss, you can leave now." Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows, quite surprised. This seemed to be because of that call. Then, just as he was caught off guard, the chief suddenly got someone to handcuff Nan Luo. "I'm sorry, Mr. Nan Luo. Someone brought evidence and reported you to us for fraud and smuggling. You have to stay. Instantly." Nan Luo, who was still waiting for Bei Yunj to apologize to him, suddenly changed his expression. "Impossible. How could I do such a thing?" Hearing his denial, the chief's eyes turned cold. "Whether you did it or not, we will give you an answer." Seeing this scene, the other staff were also very surprised. After Bei Yunj and the rest left, the male staff member who had just taken the photo pulled the female staff member back. "You're too bold. Why did you take photos of the case? The chief said just now that this is just for show." The female staff member shrugged. "Anyway, no matter how they took it, it would not be recorded. In the car. Did you gather evidence?" Bei Yunj asked. Tan Nan shook his head and looked at her. That call just now might not be just to report Nan Luo. Or maybe someone was protecting Bei Yunj. A trace of thought flashed past Bei Yunj's eyes. Dizhou building. The man raised his hand lazily, his slender fingers caressing the photo that Bei Yunj had taken at the police station. His posture was light and unhurried. He tapped the cigarette ash with his fingertips and exhaled a thin white smoke. The way he smoked was somewhat irresistible. "Did she come out?" The person beside Hua Shidu was not Sang-Su, but another cold-looking man. Zhou Yu said, "Yes, sir. As for Nan Luo, he will go to jail for 10 years. "All right, you may leave." After the man finished speaking, Zhou Yu left. At this very moment, Hua Shidu caressed the photo in his hand. His low and hoarse laughter was a little charming, as if it was teasing one's eardrums. He put the photo on the table and his lips curled into a cynical smile. He casually put out the cigarette. Where did this little recidivist come from? How dare you? A Higgins group. Once again, everyone sat in the meeting room, waiting for the boss to appoint his successor. This was the 4th time. Mai Weiyu looked at the indifferent Xiang Yan and could not help but bite her lip. She sneered again. "Are you sure she will come this time?" Everyone also expressed their doubts. "She's almost here." Xiang Yan glanced at the message and then at the people present. Chapter 869. A hint of coldness flashed across Mai Weiyu's eyes and she could not help but clench her fists. How could an outsider compete with her? She would like to see what ability this person had to compete with her. "She's already upstairs." Following Xiang Yan's voice, everyone looked at each other. They did not expect her to come so quickly. Fan Zheqing, who was sitting at the side, had a faint disdain and sarcasm in his eyes. "I really don't know if Nancy is crazy. She actually chose someone who can go to the police." As soon as he finished speaking, before Fan Zheqing could retract the sarcasm on his face, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. "Sorry, I'm late." Bei Yunj took off his hat and said in a clear voice, "I just came back from the police station." The higher-ups. They felt that the new air was a little wild. When Fan Zheqing saw Bei Yunj's face clearly, he almost fell off his chair. How could it be? Yesterday, he could only look at the person from a distance below the stage. Now, he was less than 3 meters away from him. After regaining his senses, Fan Zheqing froze. "Why? Fan Zheqing." Xiang Yan's indifferent voice made Fan Zheqing wake up. He was someone who had signed a confidentiality agreement. Thinking of this, Fan Zheqing began to get excited again. "It's not too late. It's good that she's out." Bei Yunj. Everyone. No matter how he heard it, there was something wrong with those words. Bei Yunj glanced at Fan Zheqing and did not seem to have any impression of him. After responding faintly, he naturally sat on the main seat. Seeing this, everyone thought that Bei Yunj's attitude would definitely make Fan Zheqing angry. Unexpectedly, Fan Zheqing looked at Bei Yunj obsequiously and his voice had a hint of unreality. "You're the boss? Oh my god, how can I be so lucky?" Everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Was this still the arrogant young Master Qing they knew? Mai Weiyu's face darkened. She did not expect Fan Zheqing to change sides so quickly even though he disliked the new heir the most. What the hell was going on? Let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Bei Yunj. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, everyone suddenly fell into silence. That was it? Gone? That was indeed simple enough. I only need to know your names. The rest is not important. Bei Yunj casually opened a bottle of mineral water and leisurely glanced at the people present. The intimidating look in his eyes inexplicably made people's hearts tremble. The girl in front of him looked very young, but her aura made him shudder. Not long after everyone reported their names one by one, the others were very doubtful. Could Bei Yunj really remember the names of 20 to 30 people at once? Then wouldn't she be a genius? My Weiyu's lips curled into a mocking smile as she looked at the person on the main seat who was deliberately mystifying things. I still have to remind everyone that I don't like it when someone arbitrarily changes my project. Bei Yunj spun the pen in his hand quickly and said in a cold and dangerous tone, "Nothing good will come out of stepping on my minefield." Hearing this, there was complete silence. Originally, the higher-ups present more or less wanted to intimidate the new heir. However, he didn't expect that this seemingly young girl would be able to control the situation and turn the tables around. Yes. Everyone braced themselves and answered. But Miss Pei, I've always been in charge of the company's projects. Do you mean that you want to do it yourself? My Weiyu suddenly spoke. Chapter 870. Bei Yunj glanced at her unhurriedly. I've already arranged the project team. My Weiyu's face stiffened and a sinister look flashed across her eyes. She smiled. Miss Pei, I'm afraid the real product launch is different from what you imagined. Can you be responsible for the losses? Bei Yunj thought for a moment. Haven't you been incurring losses? My Weiyu's body froze and her face darkened. She felt that Bei Yunj was mocking her on purpose. Everyone felt as if they had been stabbed in the heart. Since I've taken over, there won't be any losses, Bei Yunj said leisurely. My Weiyu put on a fake smile. Miss Pei, but our company already has a project. These words were also implying that Bei Yunj was an outsider. At this moment, Fan Zhuqing was about to speak up for Bei Yunj when he heard Bei Yunj's emotionless tone. You can produce trash as long as you're not afraid that I'll clean you up at the end of the year. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone felt a chill run down their spines. My Weiyu's face twisted in an instant, but she could not help but sneer in her heart. Miss Pei, you're worrying too much. The team I've invited this time is the best team in Country J. They were also carefully selected. The person in charge of the project will have to take full responsibility for projects that don't generate 12 figures in revenue, Bei Yunj said slowly. Hearing this, everyone wondered if this eldest young Mrs. Brain was not clear. The income of the two recent projects of the Delaney Group had barely reached 13 figures. She actually wanted a family group that was already on the decline to reach this level. My Weiyu blurted out. How is this possible? Since it's the best team, we have to let people see the best results. If we can't, we'll stop as soon as possible. Bei Yunj sat on the main seat and tapped her index finger on the table, not giving anyone any leeway. Everyone could not help but frown and feel conflicted. Suddenly, one of the senior executives laughed and said in a disdainful tone, Miss Pei, you just joined the company and you want to get rid of the people in the company? Bei Yunj said unhurriedly, if the company really had so many talents, it wouldn't be in the current situation. These words made the senior executives present even more uncomfortable with Bei Yunj. What did she mean? She was just a silly little girl. Was she going to dismiss all of them who had been in charge of 2 dynasties? The senior executive sneered. What if Miss Pei can't achieve this? Bei Yunj patted the handle of the chair under her hand and smirked slowly. You can give this seat to anyone. Miss Pei is really young and daring. The old higher-ups increasingly felt that this successor was actually an idiot. He only knew how to boast. A dark look flashed across my Weiyu's eyes as though she had found an opportunity. She chuckled and said, since that's the case, let's proceed with the 2 projects at the same time. I'd like to see Ms. Pei's abilities too. However, Ms. Pei, are you sure that you're going to leave Higgins if you can't reach 12 figures? Bei Yunj threw their project proposal on the table and said casually, yes. If my project suffers any losses, I'm willing to compensate you personally. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. This Missy really dared to say that. Then it's settled. My Weiyu's eyes were filled with determination. This time, she would definitely make Bei Yunj get out of Higgins. Chapter 871. As an outsider, what right did she have to take down the Higgins family? After the meeting, my Weiyu sneered and glanced at Bei Yunj before returning to her office. At this moment, someone called out to her. Weiyu, I think we can talk about a collaboration. A middle-aged man with brownish-red hair walked in front of my Weiyu with a mocking smile. Compared to the person who just came, it seems that everyone is more convinced by you sitting in the main seat. Really? If I can get your support, my chances of winning will be higher. After all, no matter how much of a burden that woman is, Xiang Yan will help her. My Weiyu's eyes darkened and her tone was filled with hatred. You don't have to worry about that. Your father is also the second in command. Why should he be afraid of Xiang Yan? Everything about Higgins can't be taken over by a group of outsiders. The old executive with brownish-red hair sneered. My Weiyu also curled her lips. She wanted to see that woman's expression when she fell. Project proposal. Take a look. Bei Yunj handed the document to Xiang Yan. When Fan Zhiqing came over, Bei Yunj realized that there was someone else. Fan Zhiqing's eyes lit up. This is the double system that country are mentioned previously. Before he could finish his excitement, he met Bei Yunj's eyes. The big boss's gaze was a little scary. After all, he had seen with his own eyes the scene of this person kicking someone on the podium. This is Fan Zhiqing. I've seen you once at Farisk's award ceremony. Xiang Yan explained as he flipped through the document. Is that so? Bei Yunj didn't have much of an impression. After all, there were so many people below the stage. Yes, you. Bei Yunj glanced at him. Call me by my name. Okay. Miss Pei, why did you go to the police station this morning? Fan Zhiqing looked very reserved. I beat someone up yesterday, so I went there today to keep a record, Bei Yunj said unhurriedly. So that's what happened. Fan Zhiqing couldn't help but be furious. He was the one who had a bad mouth. Beating him up was already a light punishment. But now that it's on the internet, what do you plan to do? There are still a lot of people online who want you to apologize to him. Bei Yunj chuckled and said lazily, we'll have to wait until he's out of prison. Fan Zhiqing. Subsequently, without waiting for Fan Zhiqing to speak, Xiang Yan said, this project is very good. No problem. Who did you find to develop it? If Jasmine and Titch want to try, they'll be fine. Bei Yunj thought for a moment. I signed an assistant before, and he's still with Delaney. In 2 days, tell him to come here and look for you. All right. Xiang Yan did not doubt that there would be any problems with Bei Yunj's project. After the meeting, Fan Zhiqing went online and realized what Bei Yunj meant. The headlines on the internet were all about Nan Luo. Hashtag former scientific genius Nanro is suspected of being arrested. Hashtag Nan Luo was caught cheating and smuggling. Hashtag among them. There was one trending topic that was ranked 5th on the list. Hashtag forensic scientists speak out. Hashtag after Fan Zhiqing clicked on it, he saw that many famous researchers had expressed their opinions. About 3 or 4 hours ago. Computing Institute of our nation. Marcus. Don't you know why I hit you? Nan Luo. Computing Institute. Zhong Shanglin. An academic platform, not a political stage. Professor Huntington. She's a researcher with unlimited potential. But if I were from country A, I would love her country even more. Chapter 872. Tenya Servano. The strong praise on the weak. Nanro is at a disadvantage. When they flipped to this post, the comments below skyrocketed. Everyone was wondering if it was because they had more authority to speak, so the big shots were all on their side. Tenya Servano was also vague, but it seemed that he had admitted to what the netizens said. Soon, there was a wave of abuse online. My heart aches. They are clearly the researchers we respect the most. Why are they helping the evildoers? As expected, even in the academic circle, those who are rich are their fathers like Tisk, even gods are vulgar. This group of people has contributed too much to human society, causing some people to have nothing better to do. They are always on the internet, smile. However, not long after, a video was released by Country A and Country R's daily newspapers. When they clicked on the video, It was a rather blurry video. They could hear Nanro speaking rudely on stage. Not long after, a girl whose figure was not very clear walked onto the stage and kicked him off the stage. The audience was very quiet. Even they, who were watching the video, could feel how violent this person's temper was. After that, there was a sentence that had been changed. Since you don't mind that you can't control your mouth, then don't mind that I can't control my legs. However, it's also necessary to clarify. It's not that I lack any awards, but that your awards lack one. This sentence could be felt through the screen. He also saw this person ruthlessly kick Nan Luo after stepping down from the stage. She was simply and crazy. The comments of A&R Nation's daily newspapers on this matter were also similar. Our Nation's daily newspaper. I hope to maintain the relationship between the people of Russia and AR. I also hope that this matter will not happen again. A Nation's daily newspaper. The friendship between the people of A and our nation will last forever. I'm sorry. Our young researchers are reckless. We will do a good job of educating them. After watching this, everyone finally realized what was going on. This Nanro had indeed done nothing wrong. However, this was indeed ruthless. Those 2 kicks just now caused them to feel pain in their backs. Ah! So handsome. Am I the only one who caught the key information? Young researchers. How young are they? They can already win Farisk and Busaka, and they are still young researchers? Ha 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 ha. Who would have thought that such a day would come? She was brought home by Father A to educate her. Take me away. Scolding on the intranet, you can come out and apologize, like. They dare to reject Farisk for the sake of their country, and you dare to hide at home and type on the keyboard. Do you see the difference between you two? Let's apologize to the people of Japan. It's our family's bad temper. I suggest that you take a detour if you see her in the future, Cat. Ah, I want to see Daddy's real face. Can't you afford to play? This is too messy. On the internet, the people who were originally scolding also shut their mouths. Only a few of them were still holding on. Tensei Servano also became the target of attacks because of his words. The discussions on the intranet were even more unbridled. I, who climbed the wall and came back, can only say that it's my father. Father A's speech just now makes me feel that he's really young. It's making the higher-ups very troubled. Ha 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 ha, super geniuses are not easy to take care of. Although this situation is not appropriate for the occasion, how should I put it? If it were anyone else, the people of our nation wouldn't be so easy to talk to. But it's not the first time they've coveted our super genius. If they like a super genius, they have to pamper him even if they have to kneel down. Chapter 873. Early in the morning. Bei Yunj put on a loose light purple sweater, her slightly curly black hair hanging down casually as she walked out of the door. Coincidentally, Huashidu was still working today, so Bei Yunj went to the castle to look for Qin Yu. Because of Han Yu's ban, in the end, Qin Yu's studio finally managed to find Yu Man Ran through various favors. After all, Yu Man Ran was very popular now. It was indeed incredible to be able to invite Yu Man Ran. At the castle where the filming took place, Bei Yunj had just arrived at the venue when she saw Yu Man Ran putting on makeup. Gah! Here, here. Yu Man Ran was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly waved at Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj smirked and walked to Yu Man Ran's side. Thank you for your hard work. What's there to be troubled about? Anyway, your Yun's composition will definitely be popular in the future. I won't lose out either. Yu Man Ran smiled. Actually, Yu Man Ran had only rushed over after withdrawing from 3 jobs. Yu Man Ran changed the topic. However, the female lead could have been filmed by Yu. No matter what, it would have been trending. Bei Yunj's looks could turn people into dregs. Isn't there a ready-made one? Bei Yunj reached out to mess up Yu Man Ran's hair and said lazily. Yu Man Ran was speechless. When the others saw this scene, they were also very shocked. After all, if anyone else touched Yu Man Ran's head like this, they would definitely be beaten up. All right, I'll go and film first. You must have lunch with me, do you hear me? Yu Man Ran hugged Bei Yunj's arm and refused to let go. Sure. Bei Yunj replied and Yu Man Ran let go and left. But what he did not expect was. Not long after, the director realized that 2 extras were missing. Huang Ku. Huang Ku! The director shouted through a megaphone. Director, what's the matter? Huang Ku immediately ran back and handed the cake to Bei Yunj. We're missing 2 extras. You go. The director patted Huang Ku's shoulder. But I'm alone. How can I act as 2 people? Huang Ku was stunned. But there's no female floor manager that we can use. As soon as the director finished speaking, he suddenly caught a glimpse of Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj, who was eating her cake, felt the sound suddenly disappear. She instinctively looked up, but unexpectedly met the director's eyes. The director suddenly smiled, squatted down, and patted Bei Yunj on the shoulder. Bei Yunj? ? A few minutes later. Bei Yunj didn't look too good when she looked at her own outfit. Because it was a gothic style, it took the horror route. As extras, they would be hung in 3 or 4 rows. However, just as Bei Yunj was queuing up and was about to be hung up, Qin Yu walked towards them. The 2 of them looked at each other. A trace of hesitation appeared on Qin Yu's arrogant and handsome face. After Qin Yu regained his senses, he frowned ruthlessly when he saw Bei Yunj's outfit. He didn't know if it was the director's idea or the stylist's idea, but Bei Yunj's outfit gave off a dark and lustful feeling. The beautiful lines of the girl were vividly displayed. This aura that could not be suppressed at all did not look like the background of a music video. Qin Yu's expression darkened and he immediately took off his jacket to cover Bei Yunj. No! What kind of joke was this? With just these few pieces of cloth, were they trying to release his guer to attract wolves? Actually, there was nothing too revealing. After all, she was Qin Yu's biological sister. Who would dare to mess around? Chapter 874. Qin Yu, why are you here? The director frowned. You're already prepared and you're still hanging around here? You still have the cheek to say that? What are you wearing for my sister? Qin Yu sized up the director and shielded Bei Yunj behind him. I really didn't expect you to be so perverted, old Lu. The director's eyelids twitched. What nonsense are you talking about? The stylist said that we can't waste Miss Pei's beauty. Even if it was a background, it was the most stunning background. Stop talking nonsense. Either change the person or find a normal outfit for my sister. A cold smile appeared on Qin Yu's superior eyes. The director was speechless. He really didn't expect Qin Yu to be so obsessed with his sister. 10 minutes later, Bei Yunj had changed into a more conservative outfit. The safety rope was tied around her waist, but on the surface, it looked like a hook was hooked on the back of her collar. She heard the extras talking behind her. As expected of Director Lu. He even dares to hang up Brother Yu's sister. Bei Yunj was speechless. In the blink of an eye, Bei Yunj saw Huang Ku, who was hanging happily and swinging around with the rope. Bei Yunj asked, "How long are we going to hang up?" Hearing this, Huang Ku immediately stopped. Ha! It should be the whole day. But it's so fun, girl. Watch me swing around. Bei Yunj rejected politely. Thank you, but there's no need. Soon. After the MV started, Yu Manran saw Bei Yunj behind him and couldn't help but want to look at Bei Yunj, but was stopped by Qin Yu vigilantly. He didn't let anyone get close to Bei Yunj. The corners of Yu Manran's mouth twitched, but he could only suppress his anger and continue filming the MV with Qin Yu. However, until the afternoon, Yu Manran and Qin Yu's intimate scenes were still NG. The director was also furious. He could only take a deep breath and make himself a cup of tea. The filming stopped. Bei Yunj only closed her eyes for a while. When she woke up again, she saw Yu Manran and Qin Yu arguing. Huang Ku was shocked. "Guher, what should we do? Did Sister Man run away in anger?" Huang Ku was anxious. Bei Yunj's eyes twitched. "I'm hanging here. What can I do?" After getting used to being hung up on, Bei Yunj began to swing around in a good mood. Huang Ku. However, unexpectedly, in the next moment, the girls behind him suddenly couldn't suppress their excitement, as if they were about to scream. Such a situation should be very rare. After all, she could see Qin Yu here every day. Bei Yunj subconsciously looked up, but she didn't expect to see a man not far away. The handsome and noble man was wearing a well-ironed black handmade suit. His posture was languid and light. His pair of pale-colored eyes were abstinent and the corners of his upturned eyes were seductive. In her cold temperament, there was a kind of unrestrained laziness and arrogance. It was Hua Shidu. Bei Yunji's first reaction was to pull Huang Ku, who was next to her, and slowly turn around. She didn't want this man to see her hanging here. However, in the next moment, she seemed to hear a woman's laughter. Bei Yunji was speechless. After a moment, Bei Yunji turned around and saw Hua Shidu walking with a woman who looked to be in her 20s. They were chatting happily. Guar? Huang Ke called out to Bei Yunji carefully. It was her first time seeing Bei Yunji sizing someone up so openly. Bei Yunji replied calmly. However, she heard the people behind her talking. Chapter 875. Are they a couple? Isn't the little brother too handsome? I think so. They look like a couple. The lady with blonde hair next to him is my cup of tea. As soon as she finished speaking, Bei Yunji slowly turned around and looked at the two people who were talking. After sensing the gaze from the front, the two people who were talking behind them subconsciously shut their mouths. Brother Yu's sister's gaze was so scary. Bei Yunji retracted her gaze and licked her lips. She said unhurriedly, "You're really angry." Huang Ku, who sensed that Bei Yunji's tone was not right, inexplicably did not dare to speak to her. Until, seeing Hua Shidu and an unfamiliar woman walking over, Bei Yunji silently pulled the hand beside her and turned herself around. Hua Shidu only glanced casually at the human background, not far away, and quickly retracted his gaze. A few minutes later, Bei Yunji did not hear anything and asked Huang Ku, "Have they left?" "No, it seems like that lady is acting coquettishly with that gentleman." Huang Ku was very honest. Bei Yunji. "Hua Shidu, you're gone." At this moment, Hua Shidu, who was not far away, naturally avoided the woman's hand and coquettishly. His tone was lazy. "If you have something to say it quickly. I'm still busy." With that said, Hua Shidu scanned his surroundings again, but he did not see Bei Yunji. "Shidu, you're not cute at all. You're even worse than when you were young. You're not as cute as Amo at all." The woman had blonde hair that was slightly white. She was gentle and intellectual as she looked at Hua Shidu angrily. "Then I'll find a time to throw him to you," Hua Shidu said slowly. The woman. "There were no good men. They were heartless." Bei Yunji's eyebrows twitched. "What about now?" Huang Ku. After listening to Huang Ke stutter for a long time, Bei Yunji turned around and saw the woman catch up with the man in front of her. She even leaned her head on his shoulder. Bei Yunji licked her lips and chuckled softly. Her eyes were slightly curved and she still looked unbelievably beautiful. But inexplicably, the 10 to 20 people who were killed didn't dare to make a sound. It was so scary when the big boss was angry. At the door, Hua Shidu pushed the woman's head away without giving her any face. His deep and indifferent voice sounded indifferent, but there was a hint of warning in it. "Chris Fernandes, if you're not afraid that I'll get him to arrest you, you can continue doing this." "Chris." He even dared to threaten his aunt. "I'm here to talk about inheritance, and this is how you treat me?" Chris was in disbelief. Hua Shidu glanced at her. "Keep that little inheritance for yourself." After that, Hua Shidu saw Qin Yu and quickly walked forward. "Where's Yun Yun?" Qin Yu was stunned. "You didn't see it? Guer is helping me as an extra. She's hanging inside. Just in time. I brought her 2 bottles of water." "I'll go." Before Qin Yu could finish speaking, Hua Shidu took his water. "I'll bring it over for her." "Ha! But I also want to." Qin Yu was about to chase after him when he was stopped by the woman beside him. The woman looked very elegant and intellectual. Her red lips curled up as she held a cigarette between her fingers. "This handsome gentleman, can I borrow a lighter?" Back inside, Hua Shidu looked up and saw a certain someone immediately lowering her head and pretending to be dead after seeing him. The corners of his lips curled up unconsciously. Chapter 876. The little girl's thoughts at her age always made people unable to help but laugh. She was like a cat that had thrown a tantrum. The man smiled silently and walked in front of a certain someone who was swaying. He deliberately brushed past her, making Bei Yunji look up at the man's back. However, when Hua Shidu seemed to be about to turn around, she immediately lowered her head. She was a very serious and responsible little ghost. However, just as Bei Yunj was thinking of immediately striking this extra after Huashidu left, suddenly, a pair of shiny black leather shoes appeared in front of her. Bei Yunj slowly raised her head and met the man's half-smiling eyes. The man looked at her for a while and chuckled softly. He reached out lazily and pulled her in front of him. His index finger flicked her head lightly as a punishment. Is it that fun? You still want to avoid me? Bei Yunj thought of the intimate scene between Huashidu and the woman just now and struggled to break free from him expressionlessly. Huashidu raised his eyebrows. This was the first time he saw the little girl unhappy. The surrounding people could not help but be shocked when they saw the man standing in front of Bei Yunj and coaxing her with a smile. So, they were the wrong couple just now. Not long after, Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes stared at Huashidu for a while before she suddenly said a string of words. Half-hearted, fickle-minded, womanizing. The onlookers were speechless. In hindsight, they seemed to have realized something. The big boss seemed to be jealous. Huashidu probably did not expect that these words would be used on him one day. He raised his eyebrows. After a long time, he chuckled. The next moment, Huashidu placed the 2 bottles of water on the table beside him and suddenly pulled her over. Bei Yunj, who was suspended in the air, could not resist at all. She looked at him passively. The color in his eyes deepened. It was ambiguous and beautiful. His cold and abstinent peach blossom eyes were half-lifted, lazy and light. His low laughter was a little charming, with a hint of angry laughter. What do you mean? Are you framing your brother? Bei Yunj looked at this face and felt that half of her anger had dissipated. Subsequently, just as Bei Yunj pushed Huashidu away, the man did not hold her back like before. As soon as Bei Yunj pushed him away, she forgot that she was still in the air and directly crashed into the man's arms. Her red lips gently pressed against the side of his handsome face, then slowly and gently brushed away like a feather. It made his heart itch. Huashidu's eyes darkened. Bei Yunj looked at the mysterious look in the other party's eyes and suddenly felt that this development was very unfavorable for her. In the midst of her anger, she suddenly kissed him. How was this going to end? On the other hand, Huang Ke looked like she was watching an idol drama with a motherly smile on her face. She could not help but cover her mouth in excitement, afraid that she would disturb the atmosphere. This scene was too heart-wrenching. Is this how a TV series should be filmed? Why didn't you hug me just now? Bei Yunj's voice was a little cold and stiff. Huashidu laughed very softly. His low and magnetic voice was inexplicably lustful. He asked cynically, "Hug you? So that our Yun can be closer to her brother?" Bei Yunj. Dog man. These words sounded as if she had not kissed him enough. What I mean is, why did you let go of me just now? Chapter 877. The man approached her and reached out casually to touch the rope above Bei Yunj's head. His lips curled up carelessly and his deep and magnetic voice was filled with a smile that made people blush and their hearts race as it sounded in her ear. Older brother thought that Yun wanted to throw herself into older brother's arms. Huashidu was indeed thinking of seeing the little girl push him away and bump into him, so he did not remind her. However, he never thought that there would be an unexpected benefit. Bei Yunj was speechless when she saw that the man could still maintain his composure. However, what Huashidu did not expect was that the little girl would be unhappy for quite a long time today. Once she was done, she got into Yu Manren's car. Huashidu and Qin Yu were left standing on the spot. Gu, isn't going back with you today? Qin Yu narrowed his dark eyes and asked. Huashidu took out a cigarette from the cigarette box and bit it by his lips. He narrowed his eyes carelessly. Hearing this, Qin Yu felt that something was wrong. It felt like a couple was quarreling. Impossible. Qin Yu immediately denied his thoughts. How could a person like Huashidu do such a thing? Guar just now. Master Du was there too. Yu Manran reminded her with difficulty. But who knew? The person wearing an eye patch next to him replied indifferently. Yes. He didn't seem to care at all. Then, Yunj, are you going to stay in a hotel with me later? Yu Manran asked. Hearing this, Bei Yunj took off her eye mask. Let's go to my place. Bei Yunj gave an address to the driver in front. Yu Manran was surprised. Gu, you bought a house here? No, a friend gave it to me. With that said, Yu Manran nodded, not noticing anything wrong. But about an hour later, Bei Yunj got out of the car with Yu Manran. Yu Manran's legs almost turned weak when he saw the manor in front of him. This is Backton Manor. Yu Manran was also the eldest daughter of the top business circle in Country A. But this was the first time she had encountered such a situation. Her assistant and manager almost knelt down in front of Bei Yunj and called her father. They had always thought that Yu Manran was already a very rich young lady, but they never thought that the person beside Yu Manran was even more amazing. This was Backton Manor. The number of characters in this online encyclopedia was even more than Yu Manran. Yes. As soon as Bei Yunj responded, the butler walked out from inside. Miss, welcome home. Butler's son went forward to welcome him and then looked at Yu Manran. Is this your friend? Yes, the three of them are staying here. Uncle Son, please help me arrange it. Bei Yunj nodded. Steward Sun smiled and said, Of course. Miss, please go in quickly. After entering, Yu Manran, as a young lady from a wealthy family, felt restrained for the first time. This Backton Manor was comparable to a royal palace. Yunj, is your friend still short of friends? The kind that will be given to Backton Manor, Yu Manran asked disappointingly. Bei Yunj said, I don't think so. Are you going to rest? I'm going to practice the piano, Bei Yunj added. She still had to go to the International Musicians Association tomorrow. Du Xiao arranged for her to take the assessment. I'll accompany you, Yu Manran said excitedly. It was her first time seeing Bei Yunj practice the piano with her own eyes. Under the wide and high windows, autumn was in full swing. The light outside coated the piano with a faint golden layer. Bei Yunj was playing Spring Night Banquet, but it was different from the usual version. Chapter 878. Although for some professionals, the Spring Night Banquet in Yu Manran's score was already a test of skill, the version that Bei Yunj was playing now was even more complicated. This is the original Spring Night Banquet. The manager felt her scalp go numb. This kind of creative talent was really too terrifying. If Bei Yunj entered the entertainment industry, she would definitely become extremely popular. Her talent, looks, and the way she played the piano were all too attractive. The song ended. Yu Manran was excited. Gur, are you going to the International Musicians Association tomorrow to use this song for the assessment? No. Bei Yunj stood up again and sat down at the desk beside her. It's a new creation. The International Musicians Association's assessment was very strict. The A grade to C grade assessment required the latest original work that had never been released before. Instantly, Yu Manran's smile froze. So, you're writing the assessment song today? Yes. Bei Yunj replied slowly, You guys can go out first and help me close the door. Hearing this, Yu Manran and the others understood. Most people needed to be immersed in their creation. But she really didn't expect that Bei Yunj would actually write the assessment song the day before the assessment. What was the difference between this and cramming at the last minute? Moreover, Yu Manran had heard that the International Musicians Association's assessment was very strict. Bei Yunj could easily fail like this. Yu Manran was worried. In the piano room, Bei Yunj had already written the beginning. After all, Bei Yunj usually had a lot of inspiration and accumulated it. The next day, in the center of Neeli, Bei Yunj arrived at a good place to find peace in the midst of the noise. When she looked up, she saw a white castle-like building. This was the address of the International Musicians Association. Bei Yunj pressed down on her hat and walked in without taking off her mask. Miss, where's your ID? The voice behind her attracted Bei Yunj's attention. She raised her eyebrows and walked in front of the old man. She hesitated for a moment. Do I still need ID? The old man didn't even lift his eyes. Tell me your student number. Bei Yunj, I don't have a student number. The old man was speechless. Yet another person who was trying to bluff his way out of this. Over the years, there were always students who refused to give up. Taking advantage of the fact that the teachers of the International Musicians Association were here today, they wanted to sneak in and show off their talent. Okay, then you can come back when you have a student ID. If you're tired, you can sit over there. The old man picked up the cigar with great familiarity, took a puff and said slowly. Bei Yunj glanced at him, then turned around and saw that there were more than 10 people in that row. When she sat down, a boy asked, "You didn't get into the International Musicians Association either. Are you planning to barge in for the assessment later?" "No." After Bei Yunj said that, she called Du Xiao. No one answered. Her eyebrows twitched impatiently. Soon, she took out her laptop from her bag. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the door, as if they were waiting for the best opportunity. Only Bei Yunj was doing something, and the sound of the keyboard kept coming. "Well, you're awesome. You're still in the mood to play games at a time like this?" the boy beside her said in admiration. Bei Yunj was speechless. The few people who were about to go for the assessment heard the voices behind them and couldn't help but frown and glance at them. She had a look of superiority on her face and sneered. If they don't pass the assessment, it means that they don't have talent. The International Musicians Association doesn't accept stupid people, so why don't you let them go? Chapter 879. "Miss Anax, this is the rule from above," the old man said. A mocking smile appeared on Anax's lips and her eyes landed on Bei Yunj, who was typing on the keyboard. A mocking look appeared in her eyes and she left quickly. "Anax, Zhao Lanhua didn't come," another girl said softly as she glanced at the dozen people sitting in the corner. "It's most interesting that she has the cheek to come today." Anax raised her chin arrogantly and laughed coldly. "However, she's already out anyway and didn't pass the assessment. She's like that group of trash sitting in the corner. She's only worthy of watching us come in." "Aya, why are you paying attention to that B*TCH? Do you know that Qin Youjiao is coming today?" Another girl looked excited. "Really? But didn't she just pass grade E?" Inax asked. This time, she came to take the grade D exam. She's really a genius. She's clearly the youngest in our International Musicians Association, but her speed is like a rocket. Teacher Arn likes her a lot. Hearing this, the corners of Anax's lips curled up. "Let's go. I'll introduce you to Youjiao." "Really?" At the door. The old man frowned. "Didn't I say that if you don't have a student number?" "I do. My student number is 6. Bei Yunj interrupted him and said slowly. The old man was speechless. Did this little girl think he was a fool? "You'll know if you try." Bei Yunj sat on the stool beside him, looking like she had no intention of leaving. The old man's lips twitched. Knowing that a difficult person had come, he could only enter 666666 on the computer. In the end, a student's information really popped up? What's going on? The old man's hand trembled and he almost dropped his cigar. "Can you let me in now?" Bei Yunj stood up and asked slowly. After the old man regained his senses, he immediately printed an assessment form and gave her a sign. "Go in." "Thank you." Bei Yunj answered and walked in naturally. Seeing this, the others at the door were stunned. Didn't that person also fail the International Musicians Association's assessment? Why did she go in? Inside. When Bei Yunj came in, she saw that the hall was full of people. "Newcomer, come and submit your assessment form," someone shouted from not far away. Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows, glanced at the basic information, filled it out, and handed it to the staff. When the staff saw this form, his first reaction was to be stunned. 666666. Did this student ID really exist? "Is that enough?" Bei Yunj's lazy voice rang out. After the staff member regained his senses, he entered his student ID into the computer. But soon, he found such a person. F*CK. The staff couldn't help but curse. Then, when the staff inadvertently caught a glimpse of Bei Yunj's prediction assessment, he was completely stunned. "You? What level are you taking?" "B." Bei Yunj hesitated for a moment. "Can I take the A test directly?" She remembered that the International Musicians Association's A-level assessment required 3 famous works. However, Bei Yunj only had 2 so far. The remaining 6 were still waiting for Yu Manrin's new album. "I don't think so." The staff member put on a fake smile and probed, "What's your level?" "No level." The staff member was speechless. Good Lord, he thought it was some big shot, but he didn't expect it to be a newcomer. Chapter 880. Members below D grade cannot take the A grade or B grade assessment, the staff explained patiently. Our computer can't enter it either. Is that so? I want to try, Bei Yunj said slowly. The staff thought that Bei Yunj was suspecting that she was lying to her. Try it if you don't believe me. The staff let Bei Yunj sit in her seat and looked around, afraid that she would be discovered. However, he never thought that in the next second, he would hear Bei Yunj's clear voice. It's done. The staff came back to her senses and subconsciously looked at the computer screen. She felt that Bei Yunj's deceit was clumsy. But then, the screen clearly showed, estimated assessment, grade B. What kind of joke was this? There was no such option in the system. Can I go for the assessment now? Bei Yunj's voice fell into her ears again. After coming back to her senses, the staff stiffened. Yes, yes. On the top floor. Du Xiao called just now and said that that person is here today. The older man looked very energetic. If it wasn't for his white hair, he would look more like he was in his 40s or 50s. He put on his suit jacket. Here? Who? The other person stopped drinking his tea and quickly reacted. Why when? She's here today? Yes. Isn't today the assessment day? Du Xiao wanted to bring her here while we were all here. The old man smiled. No matter what, the person who can create Spring Night Banquet has at least a D in my heart. Another person clicked his tongue. There had never been anyone in the International Musicians Association who could get a D grade just by composing. And those who had entered the D grade could already teach the freshmen who had just joined the International Musicians Association. Is that so? But that old man has very high standards. He set AC for YUN. The old man chuckled. What kind of joke is this? The International Musicians Association has been established for so many years, and only one person has gotten a C for the first time. Hearing this, another person frowned. The International Musicians Association's assessment was not only about creative talent. All right, let's go and take a look. One of the teachers who had been silent all this while was silent for a moment before he took his notebook and went downstairs. Xiaofan likes to suppress talented people the most. Why do I feel that this assessment isn't going well? The old man said slowly. And not long after, the news of the teachers coming down from the top floor had already spread throughout the entire second floor. What's going on? All the big shots at the top level were here. Why was that? I've been taking the test for so many years, but I've never seen them come down. Someone asked in shock. Are you talking about Teacher Xiaohan and the others? Another student couldn't help but be shocked. One had to know that beginner scholars like them usually couldn't even see these god-level figures of the International Musicians Association. Why were these big shots here today? Really? I took a peek just now. The 5 teachers on the top floor are all there. Except for Teacher Du Xiao. A boy ran over and said excitedly. It's actually true. Who on earth is this big shot? Even the big shots at the top level have come to watch. Some people couldn't help but feel envious. Subsequently, Inak suddenly said, Is it Qin Youjiao? Everyone suddenly remembered such a person. He had only been in the International Musicians Association for half a year, and he was already an E-class student. She's coming today too? But didn't she just finish her assessment not long ago? As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zichen's voice faded. Someone appeared at the door. P.S. Okay, old Sue is still writing. Babies. Read it tomorrow. Good night. I'll be writing all day. Chapter 881. The girl took off her mask, revealing her exquisite face. She furrowed her eyebrows slightly and walked in front of the staff. She said calmly, Qin Youjiao, student number 417005, estimated to be a Class D. With that said, everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. Class D. Was she really here to take the Class D exam? No wonder they had heard before that Qin Youjiao was a genius. Qin Youjiao had only been in the International Musicians Association for a short while and she was already taking the Class D exam. One had to know that there were many people who had taken the exam for an entire year in order to pass the Class E exam. Senior Qin is too amazing. Class D, I wouldn't even dare to dream of doing this. I heard that Senior Qin's family background is very good. She's the daughter of a famous family in Country A. She's living in the Feway Rose Manor now. Oh my God, isn't that the Angel family's place? She's pretty, talented, and has a background. What kind of mistress setting is this? The people behind could not help but discuss enviously. Qin Yojiao was already used to such voices. There was a hint of arrogance and indifference in her eyes, but the corners of her lips still curled up uncontrollably. During this period of time in the International Musicians Association, without that person's existence, she had already regained the feeling of being surrounded by stars. As long as that person was not around, she would always be the center of attention. A trace of coldness and hatred flashed past Qin Yojiao's eyes and she laughed coldly. But it was all right. So what if everyone liked Bei Yunj? Bei Yunj was a good-for-nothing. How could she compare to her? As long as she returned with the glory of the International Musicians Association this time, Bei Yunj would only be worthy of looking up to her and watching her stand higher and higher. At that time, the Qin family would realize how stupid their decision was to let this good-for-nothing come home. At this thought, joy appeared in Qin Yojiao's eyes. She had not practiced the piano crazily every day in vain. Qin Yojiao was about to leave when she was stopped by someone beside her. Miss Qin, my father saw you practicing the piano last time. Inax smiled. My father is the governor of this state. My name is Inax. Hearing this, Qin Yojiao's eyes quickly landed on her and she said with a smile, You don't have to call me Miss Qin. Thank you for your affirmation of me, Governor Neely. Isn't it? My father has always hoped that I can get along with outstanding people. Miss Qin is the most outstanding person of my generation that I have ever met. Inai's intentions were clear. A strange glint flashed across Qin Yojiao's eyes as she laughed as well. Miss Inax, are you willing to have a cup of coffee with me after my assessment? Of course. Inax held Qin Yojiao's hand. When she glanced at the others, her eyes were filled with pride. Yojiao, did you know? This time, all the teachers on the top floor have come down. Qin Yojiao turned around. What? Inax. You don't know? Perhaps it's because you've only been in the International Musicians Association for a short period of time and your exam speed is so fast that the teachers want to come and see you. A dark glint flashed through Qin Yojiao's eyes. She didn't think that those important figures at the top would take a fancy to her talent. Aren't there other people taking the assessment apart from me? Qin Yojiao looked indifferent. But how can they compare to you? Hearing Inax say this, Qin Yojiao smiled. She glanced at the crowd and said, Inax, there are too many people here. Come with me to the lounge. Everyone looked at Qin Yojiao and the rest enviously. Only students with potential above grade E who were valued by the teachers were qualified to have an independent lounge. Chapter 882. However, Qin Yojiao glanced around from the corner of her eye and seemed to see a familiar figure in the corridor. Her pupils constricted. Bei Yunj. Qin Yojiao shook Inax off and walked hurriedly towards the corridor, ignoring the people behind her. However, when Qin Yojiao reached the stairs, there was no movement around her. It was as if that person just now was just an illusion. Impossible! Why is she here? Qin Yojiao's expression did not look too good and her eyes were even more malicious. Bei Yunj had clearly failed to get elected to the International Musicians Association. What right did she have to stand here? Yojiao, what are you looking for? Inax felt that Qin Yojiao's state was very strange. Qin Yojiao suddenly asked, unable to hide the darkness in her eyes. Is there anyone called Bei Yunj among the new members? I don't think so. There are only a dozen new members left. Bei Yunj. This name is very unfamiliar. Inax frowned. Hearing this, Qin Yojiao laughed. Yes, I'm thinking too much. She can't be a member of the International Musicians Association. Inax looked at Qin Yojiao and suddenly understood something. Her proud tone was filled with confidence. Yojiao, with our ability, even if she is, we can make her scram. Qin Yojiao also smiled. Inax, does this person know President Du Xiao? I'm indeed afraid that she will get in through connections. There's such a thing. Disgust appeared in Inax's eyes and she laughed coldly. So what? Even Du Xiao has to give my father face. Qin Yojiao's mood immediately improved and she grabbed Inax's hand. Okay, It's not worth you being so angry. On the second floor. Bei Yunj bit on a lollipop and leaned against the window by the stairs, playing with her phone lazily. Suddenly, Bei Yunj felt movement by the window and saw a girl in the blink of an eye. She had climbed in from outside the window. The two of them looked at each other and the atmosphere became awkward. The girl's expression froze. She did not expect to be caught the moment she climbed up. Bei Yunj retracted her gaze and walked out with a form in her hand. He pretended not to have seen that scene. After the girl came back to her senses, she immediately climbed in. The tip of her nose was dripping with sweat, but she couldn't help but recall the stunning appearance of the girl leaning against the wall just now. At this moment, according to the original ranking, Qin Youjiao was the first to enter the assessment classroom. After walking in and seeing the 5 teachers from the top floor, he couldn't help but clench his fists. Soon he calmed down. Greetings, teachers. I'm a Class E member, Qin Youjiao. Prediction assessment, D. Qin Youjiao's soft voice could be heard clearly by the teachers present. Are you the member who passed the E grade less than half a year after entering the International Musicians Association? The old man put on his glasses and looked at her seriously. Then, he nodded approvingly. Not bad. You're still young. He was indeed a talent that could be molded. Hearing this, a hint of joy flashed across Qin Youjiao's eyes. She didn't expect that it was just as those people outside had said. These teachers were here for her. If she could get the personal guidance of any of the 5 teachers in front of her, then her chances of climbing up in the future would be even greater. Let the test begin, Xiaofan said calmly. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao regained her senses and immediately chose the piano she was best at and played a difficult piece. There were almost no mistakes in the performance and it was close to perfection. The 5 teachers who came down from the top floor praised her repeatedly. Out of the 5 teachers, 4 of them had given D, which meant that they had passed the assessment. Chapter 883. Qin Youjiao could not suppress the excitement in her eyes as she thanked him repeatedly. Your creative ability seems to be very forced. Xiaohan's words made Qin Youjiao's smile freeze. This was also the only teacher who did not give her a D just now. What are you talking about? At her age, this creative talent is already very outstanding. Another teacher interrupted Xiaofan with a smile. Qin Youjiao retracted her stiff expression and said with a humble smile, I've only been learning for a short period of time. I also hope that if I have the chance in the future, I can receive guidance from the teachers and improve early. Hearing this, Xiaofan admired the girl in front of him. Study hard. I happen to be lacking a student. In the next second, Qin Youjiao, who was originally in a bad mood, seemed to have been hit by something good and was extremely happy. Thank you, Teacher Xiao. I'll work hard. After Qin Youjiao left, the other teachers were surprised. You're planning to take in students? She had an interesting variation just now. I like students who are innovative. However, the performance of the dragon head and the snake tail makes me feel very regretful, Xiaohan said calmly. Looking at Qin Youjiao, she looked like a well-behaved student. But this variation, I seem to have heard it somewhere before. The old man hesitated halfway before he shut his mouth. However, he had a feeling that the melody Xiaohan liked was very familiar. Outside the door. On the big screen, the results of the previous candidate were displayed. Congratulations to student number 417005 for successfully advancing. You have become a Class D student. Original grade, E. Instantly the students outside were stunned. She's really a genius. Senior Qin is probably a god, right? She advanced to Class D in less than 10 minutes this time. I think the new members of these batches are going to be crushed by Senior Qin. Inax also smiled arrogantly, as if she was the one who had received this honor. When Qin Youjiao opened the door and came out, everyone was paying attention to her. Youjiao, how is it? Did the 5 teachers say anything to you? They didn't say anything. Qin Youjiao tucked her hair behind her ear and said calmly, It's just that teacher Xiaohan seems to have the intention of taking me in as a student. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Teacher Xiaohan was ranked in the top 3 in the International Musicians Association. He actually took a fancy to Qin Youjiao. Then wouldn't Qin Youjiao be promoted all the way from now on? Everyone was envious, but they knew that they couldn't compare to Qin Youjiao. Really? I heard that teacher Xiaofan is especially strict. Inax couldn't help but feel envious. If I can become teacher Xiaofan's student, I will bring you to meet the teachers at the top. Qin Youjiao's words instantly touched Inax. Youjiao, thank you so much. Quickly go in and take the test. I'll wait for you in the lounge. Qin Youjiao suppressed the excitement in her heart and only suppressed it when she returned to the lounge. She had really attracted the attention of the top teachers. At that time, as long as Xiaofan accepted her as his student, Bei Yunj would be nothing in front of her. At the thought of this, the hatred in Qin Youjiao's eyes surged. Ever since she was young, she had always been the beloved daughter of a prestigious family. It was all Bei Yunj's fault for ruining her life. She was going to make Bei Yunj pay 1,000 times the price. The test continued. Then, just as Inax was about to go in for the assessment, the sound of a violin suddenly sounded in the hall. After hearing this familiar melody, Inax's expression changed. Chapter 884. Inax turned her head and saw the girl who had just climbed in through the window. She was playing her violin in the hall. Mo Xiaoqin. Inax was so angry that her entire body was trembling. Wasn't this B*TCH eliminated and wouldn't come? Why would she appear here? Bei Yunj had just wandered over and saw this scene. She leaned lazily against the wall and listened. It had to be said that this girl was quite good at playing the violin. What are you doing? Who allowed you to come in? Inax's eyes were red, and she wanted to slap Mo Xiaoqin. Don't you like to steal manuscripts? I'll let you steal it. When you go in later, your performance won't be as good as mine. Let's see how you're going to pretend. Mo Xiaoqin sneered. Even the teachers in the assessment room could hear her shrewish voice. Inax's face turned pale. What nonsense are you talking about? Why aren't you going in? It's your turn to be assessed. Mo Xiaoqin crossed her arms and looked like she was watching a good show. You B*TCH. Lunatic. Just you wait. Inax gritted her teeth and looked at the half-closed door of the classroom. She could only bite the bullet and enter. Outside the door, the others couldn't help but take a few more glances at Mo Xiaoqin. Some even secretly looked for the security guards. When Mo Xiaoqin saw this, her lips curled into a mocking smile. However, when she packed up her violin and was about to leave, she bumped into Bei Yunj again. Pretty hot. Bei Yunj glanced at her and the corners of her lips curled up. Her casual comment made Mo Xiaoqin's face flush red instantly. There's still space downstairs for you to continue playing the violin. Bei Yunj's casual words made Mo Xiaoqin hesitate. She didn't quite understand what she meant. However, Mo Xiaoqin still went downstairs and did as Bei Yunj said. Half an hour later, Inax walked out with an ugly expression. The door also showed that she had failed to advance. She was still a contestant with no level. The others didn't say a word. They didn't dare to provoke the eldest daughter of the governor's family. Inax looked up and saw that Bei Yunj didn't even look at her and was about to walk in. Stop. Inax's expression was ugly. She looked at Bei Yunj suspiciously and asked coldly, You're from the International Musicians Association? Why haven't I seen you before? She clearly saw this person sitting beside that group of trash just now. Take care of yourself. Bei Yunj's slow words made everyone look at her uncontrollably. This person was too powerful. He even dared to talk back to the governor's daughter? You! Inax reached out and wanted to push Bei Yunj, but Bei Yunj glanced at her from the corner of her eyes and casually avoided her. Naturally, he stretched out his leg and tripped him to the ground. That deep sound of flesh hitting flesh was enough to make one's scalp go numb. Don't be stupid. I don't really want to go to the Neely police station again for you. Bei Yunj glanced at her casually and went straight in. Inax was so angry that her face was distorted, and she gritted her teeth. However, someone quickly reported, Sister Inai, this woman spoke to Mo Xiaoqin just now. She might be Mo Xiaoqin's friend. It's that B*TCH again. Inax gritted her teeth. The 5 teachers didn't say anything just now, but it was obvious that they had a very bad impression of her because of Mo Xiaoqin. Inax, Senior Qin is a D-rank student. If Senior Qin has a conflict with a student without a rank, the student without a rank will be forced to leave the association, that person hinted. I didn't expect Mo Xiaoqin to know someone from the International Musicians Association. Inax sneered. However, I'll make sure she can't stay in the International Musicians Association today. Chapter 885. Inax gritted her teeth. In the assessment classroom, several teachers were still chatting. There don't seem to be many students in this cohort who can pass. Didn't someone plagiarize just now? When I heard the violin outside, I knew that the girl wasn't familiar with the original song. Another teacher sighed. I think Qin Youjiao is very good. She's young and works hard to be humble. Xiaofan, don't you think so? Xiaofan looked at the next assessment form and suddenly snorted. Compared to some people, she's indeed humble. Someone is going to take the B grade examination directly today. Even for Yun who came today, they estimated that she was only C or D. B grade. Aren't B grade students not allowed to register? How can someone take the B grade examination directly? Xiaofan said calmly, students are all very capable. However, such a person shouldn't stay in the International Musicians Association. The others fell silent. Xiaofan had always had high standards for students. In addition, with Qin Youjiao as a comparison, this student was indeed too arrogant. She actually planned to take the B grade examination directly. There was no such example in the International Musicians Association. If she doesn't pass the assessment, this person doesn't need to stay in the International Musicians Association anymore. With that said, no one refuted Xiaofan. Everyone silently agreed. Soon. It was only when a girl pushed open the door and entered that everyone's eyes could not help but land on her. Bei Yunj took off her mask and hat, revealing her exquisite and beautiful face. Even the teachers were a little stunned. It had to be said that this student's appearance could be said to be the face of the International Musicians Association. Introduce yourself. One of the teachers spoke. However, before Bei Yunj could speak, Xiaofan interrupted her. Since this student is so confident, there's no hurry to perform first. These introductions are also in the assessment form. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and glanced at Xiaofan carelessly, but she did not mind taking the assessment first. Sure. Bei Yunj had just sat down in front of the piano when she heard Xiaofan say, if you don't pass, then you're wasting my time. I'll make you leave the International Musicians Association. Everyone knew that Xiaofan hated people who got in through the back door the most. This student had relied on his connections to get into the B class and had even bumped into Xiaofan. He was truly unlucky. Bei Yunj raised her beautiful eyes, but there was no warmth in her eyes. Is that so? Then, if I pass the test, will your position be reserved for me? These words made one's scalp go numb. He knew that this person was arrogant and didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, but he didn't think that she would dare to challenge Xiaofan. After all, Xiaofan was one of the few A-class members in the top echelon. Xiaofan frowned and threw the watch on the table. He said indifferently, that will depend on your ability. Such a person would affect the development of the International Musicians Association. Even if his talent wasn't bad, he couldn't be allowed to stay. Hearing this, Bei Yunj only smirked, his eyes cold. Very quickly, his beautiful fingertips pressed down on the piano keys twice. Following that, a bold and personal piano sound rang out. It was an original song with a B grade requirement. The difficulty level of the entire score was very high. It required a high level of skill to perform and bring the emotions into the performance. And this girl's piano skills were not at all like what she should have at her age. Even if they were given a week to get used to each other, they might not be able to play the way she did. One of the teacher's expression changed, as if a fishbone was stuck in his throat. He seemed to have heard of this creative style somewhere. Chapter 886. Very soon, Bei Yunj finished her performance. The few people who had finished listening to her performance felt a chill run down their spines to the back of their heads. They felt goosebumps all over their bodies. How old was this young lady? She should be around 20 years old? Her piano skills did not lose out to those who were known as the grandmaster teachers. Who was her teacher? At this moment, Bei Yunj stopped and had no intention of standing up. She sat on the black cushioned piano stool and crossed her legs casually as she looked at them. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. They had thought that she was a student who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. They did not expect her to make their scalps go numb. Who was the one who got this immortal? What's the name of this song? Someone asked instinctively. Bei Yunj said without hesitation. Bakerton Rose. That person asked, why is it a rose? Bei Yunj was silent for a moment. Because I only have roses in my house. Everyone suddenly fell into silence. Then someone probed. Your house is Bakerton Manor? Yes. Bei Yunj responded nonchalantly. In an instant, all of them felt as if their bodies were about to go limp and float. They thought that Bei Yunj had seen photos of Bakerton Manor on the internet and had a beautiful fantasy of Bakerton's glass garden. They did not expect her to live in Bakerton Manor. The owner of Bakerton Manor was actually a young lady from Country A. Everyone could not come back to their senses for a moment. Xiaofan's expression was also a little ugly. With this girl's standard, even if she applied for Class A, it would not be impossible. Among them, the old man in dark stripes suddenly asked, Are you Yun? Yes. Bei Yunj responded casually. When the others heard this, their bodies stiffened. This person was Yun. They heard from Du Xiao that she was very young, but they did not expect her to be so young. They gradually woke up. No wonder she dared to take the Class B assessment directly. They did not expect her to be Yun. Why didn't you come in for the assessment directly? After the old man finished asking, he looked at the student ID again and felt an indescribable sense of madness and confusion. This student ID is 6 6s? Immediately, the others were also attracted by the information on the paper. It really was 6 6s? I'm sorry, but I had to ask for a student ID when I came in. Bei Yunj added leisurely, when I came in, I also wanted to explain the situation. All the teachers. However, he was stopped by them and given a show of strength. When they thought about how they had actually tried to intimidate the president's favorite member, who was also likely to be the future president, the smiles on their faces froze. No one dared to look at Bei Yunj. Have you passed the test? Bei Yunj put on her cap and mask again. Her tone was indifferent, and no one could tell whether she was angry or not. The others tensed up, afraid that Du Xiao would come to settle the score with them. I think it's enough. Pass. Soon the four of them passed, and they couldn't help but look at Xiaofan. They thought of how Xiaofan and Yun had challenged each other just now. If Yun held a grudge, Xiaofan might not be able to gain the upper hand. Xiaofan pursed his lips and felt that he had been slapped in the face. His expression was a little ugly. Pass. Given Bei Yunj's situation, it was impossible for her not to pass. Chapter 887. Bei Yunj glanced at him indifferently and prepared to leave again. Since I've passed the assessment, I'll go back first. As soon as Bei Yunj finished speaking, the few of them stood up instinctively. Yun, you've just arrived and you're leaving now? You don't want to see President Du? Bei Yunj didn't even look up. There's nothing to see. Instantly, everyone froze. No wonder Elder Du said not to provoke Yun. Yun had a bad temper. She was simply a person with a communication disorder. However, with Bei Yunj's ability, the one who had to work hard was never her, but others. Bei Yunj put on her hat and opened the door without saying a word, appearing in front of everyone. Everyone thought that Bei Yunj had passed the assessment. She looked cold and expressionless. After all, those who passed the assessment would usually be so happy that they could fly. Then, Inax, who was staring at Bei Yunj at the door, was about to mock her when she saw Bei Yunj walking downstairs with an indifferent expression. This situation made people think that Bei Yunj couldn't take the blow. It looks like she failed the assessment too, right? The girl beside her smiled. Inax burst out laughing. I thought that she would be very powerful with her bad temper. I didn't expect her to be so pretentious. Then, before Inax could finish laughing, an announcement suddenly sounded. This made everyone look at the big screen instinctively. Then, the clear words of advancement appeared on the screen. Congratulations to student number 666666 for successfully advancing. You have become a B-class member. Original level, no level. After the announcement was broadcasted 3 times in the International Musicians Association, almost everyone knew that the student who had just come out had advanced to B-class. Inax's face turned pale as if she had suffered a serious blow. She screamed. How is this possible? Mo Xiaoqin's friends were clearly trash. She had never seen that girl before. How could she become a B-class member? This was impossible. All of a sudden, the crowd, who had been stunned by Qin Youjiao's speedy assessment, couldn't find their voices for a moment. They were all stunned. The atmosphere was silent for a long time before someone asked blankly, "What level did she pass?" B class. It's B class. Holy shit. After the other person reacted, he couldn't help but curse. Is he still F*King human? Advancing to Class B without any rank. The International Musicians Association has developed for hundreds of years, but we have never encountered such an operation. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines. What kind of lunatics had appeared this year? Advancing to Class B without any rank. Was this something a human could do? They remembered that the fastest person to advance in the International Musicians Association was the third president of the International Musicians Association, who had advanced from Class E to Class C. Now, he was promoted to be class without any rank. Was the boss crazy? Did they have to give him a way out? B class. I remember that the top floor only has 5 A class and 6 B class. Everyone was starting to doubt if they were dreaming. Inaxa's face was even paler, and her body was on the verge of collapsing. That girl could directly advance to Class B? How could this be? Afterward, before everyone could react, they suddenly saw the 4 top teachers chasing after her. Where is she? How did she run so fast? Hurry! Don't let her go! The few teachers didn't care about the students waiting for the assessment in the hall at all. All of them chased after her. Chapter 888. This scene was even more of a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. These big shots at the top level were chasing after the one who had just left? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Their emotions even more complicated. They originally thought that Qin Youjiao was already favored by God. However, they did not expect that the person who had just left was already starting to make people suspect if she had a divine status. Was she God's biological daughter? What kind of terrifying talent was this? They were all humans, so why did it seem like they were pulled here to make up the numbers? Bei Yunj had just gone downstairs when she bumped into Du Xiao. He was standing in front of Mo Xiaoqin and chatting with her. He seemed to admire Mo Xiaoqin very much. Then, just as Bei Yunj was about to leave, Du Xiao immediately noticed Bei Yunj with his sharp eyes. Cooler. Bei Yunj pressed down on her hat again. Soon. She turned to look at Du Xiao. I'm done with the assessment. See. Du Xiao was excited. Bei Yunj said. No. Du Xiao's expression darkened and he was a little disappointed. However, this was normal. Bei Yunj's mind was not on music at all. The C-rank assessment was very difficult, so it was normal for her to fail. In the next moment, just as Du Xiao was about to lecture her, Bei Yunj continued, B. Du Xiao was speechless. Do you dare to say it again? Du Xiao felt dizzy for a moment, but was supported by Bei Yunj in time. Wait a minute. Are you sure it's B? Bei Yunj was silent for a moment and looked at Du Xiao strangely. Do you like C-ranks that much? Du Xiao was speechless. Soon. Du Xiao patted Bei Yunj's shoulder happily. The younger generation will surpass us in time. The younger generation will surpass us in time. With that said, Mo Xiaoqin, who was beside her, said softly, You know each other. Mo Xiaoqin suddenly suspected that Bei Yunj had known that Du Xiao would come today, so she asked her to play the violin downstairs. Yes, this is why. Bei Yunj interrupted Du Xiao. I'm Bei Yunj. Du Xiao was stunned for a moment. When he came back to his senses, he understood what Bei Yunj meant. She did not want her identity to be exposed. Bei Yunj's age made her easy to be targeted. Du Xiao also hoped that he could quietly nurture talents and not attract attention. President Du. The few people behind him were panting as they ran. When they saw Bei Yunj talking to Du Xiao, they couldn't help but feel guilty. This was Du Xiao's favorite precious member. If Bei Yunj had complained about them just now, Du Xiao would most likely hold a grudge against them. What's wrong with this girl? I heard from her that someone took her score and passed the examination of our International Musicians Association. Du Xiao asked in a deep voice. Hearing this, everyone looked at Mo Xiaoqin and knew who had taken her score. It was the student who also played the violin but was not good at it. Everyone was put in a difficult position, not knowing what to say. They could also tell that that person's score was probably not theirs, but that person was the governor's daughter. If they got her out, the International Musicians Association would be in trouble. Are you mute? Du Xiao asked in a deep voice. After a few people felt that Du Xiao was angry, someone carefully probed, but that person is the governor's daughter. When Mo Xiaoqin heard this, a hint of mockery appeared in her eyes. It turned out that everywhere depended on one's status. Then, everyone thought that the person who was the least likely to poke his nose into other people's business sneered and said slowly, "Does the International Musicians Association accept all kinds of trash?" P.S. The monthly votes will be restored tomorrow. The monthly votes will be 3,500 votes. Thank you for helping Master Pei. Thank you for your hard work. Chapter 889. The others were so quiet that they did not even dare to breathe. In the next second, however, Du Xiao retorted instinctively, "Of course not." Mo Xiaoqin could not help but look at Bai Yunj. She did not expect her to speak up for her. But then she heard Bai Yunj say slowly with a smile, "Old Master Du, investigate this matter thoroughly. After all, it's quite tiring for this lady to climb up the second floor with her bare hands." Mo Xiaoqin was speechless. These words made the others look at Mo Xiaoqin a few more times. There was such a thing? Okay, I'll investigate this matter thoroughly. I'll definitely give you an answer tomorrow. Du Xiao's words were surprising and worrying at the same time. After all, she was the governor's daughter. Really? Thank you, Old Master Du. Mo Xiaoqin was extremely excited and bowed to Du Xiao repeatedly. Then, just as Mo Xiaoqin turned to look at Bai Yunj, she had already left. Bai Yunj had just gone out when she saw a message from Yu Man Ran. Man. Gu, can I take a picture of your house? The kind that will be posted online, pitiful. Bai Yunj raised an eyebrow and replied quickly. Up to you. At this moment, Inax, who had learned from others that she was going to the president's office tomorrow, had a terrible expression. This B*TCH actually dared to report me. Inax gritted her teeth. Inax, I heard that President Du Xiao helped you this time because of another person, the girl said. Inax turned around and asked, but quickly regained her senses. Who is it? The person who passed Class B today? Yes, President Du Xiao seems to have an unusual relationship with her. It's said that President Du knows her in Country A. The girl's tone had a deeper meaning. Inax narrowed her eyes and laughed coldly. I knew it. How could someone pass Class B directly? So she got in through the back door. I've been waiting for you inside for a long time. Why didn't you look for me? Qin Youjiao happened to walk out and asked. Inax's eyes lit up and she went forward to hold Qin Youjiao's hand. Youjiao, do you know who President Du Xiao knows in Country A? A dark look flashed through Qin Youjiao's eyes. Why do you ask? Youjiao, there's a girl who came to take the test today. She passed Class B immediately. These words made Qin Youjiao's expression change. Her pupils constricted and she clenched her fists instinctively. How was this possible? I heard that this is someone that Mr. Du Xiao met in Country A. Inax sneered. I don't believe that she relied on her strength to enter. I've never seen her in this batch of new students. These words made Qin Youjiao suddenly think of someone. Bai Yunj. Qin Youjiao's gaze turned cold and she could not help but clench her fists tightly. Soon, Inax heard Qin Youjiao say, I do know that President Du Xiao knows a girl in Country A and even attended her birthday party. Qin Youjiao hid the darkness in her eyes and said casually, however, it shouldn't be what you think. That person's name is Bai Yunj. I don't think I've ever seen her have any musical talent. Following that, Qin Youjiao laughed coquettishly. Besides, I know all the people from the last 2 rounds of the assessment in Country A. She seems to have been eliminated a long time ago. Bai Yunj, the girl beside her suddenly exclaimed. Inax, Senior Qin. I think I heard Mr. Du Xiao call her Gua. Inax immediately laughed coldly. All right, I knew it. How could she be a Class B directly? How dare such a person report me? P.S. I'm late. Pinch my face, there are still 5 more chapters to go. 2 more chapters to get 3,500 monthly votes. Chapter 890. Qin Youjiao's expression darkened in an instant. She never thought that the person she saw last time was really Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj actually dared to appear in front of her. And she was a B rank member? Was she trying to suppress her in every way? But what right did Bei Yunj have to fight with her? Anger gathered in Qin Youjiao's chest as jealousy burned in her eyes, but she quickly returned to normal. If that's the case, this matter will be very difficult to deal with. She said with a casual smile, after all, Teacher Du Xiao is the president. If this matter doesn't blow up, it will only be suppressed. Youjiao, what should I do? Inax immediately grabbed Qin Youjiao's hand and begged, Youjiao, I don't want to leave the International Musicians Association. Qin Youjiao seemed to be thinking for her. Inax, only your father can solve this matter. But Inax hesitated. If you don't want to leave the International Musicians Association, this is the only way to solve it. Qin Youjiao smiled casually. I heard that Elder Du won't be the president for many years. And among the others, isn't Teacher Xiaofan the most qualified to be the president? These words made Inax feel less afraid and a trace of ruthlessness flashed past her eyes. Okay, I'll definitely make her get out of the International Musicians Association. Seeing this, Qin Youjiao smirked. After sending Inax away, she called Elena. Elena, Bei Yunj came to the International Musicians Association. Why doesn't even R know about this? Qin Youjiao's voice was filled with resentment. She came to the International Musicians Association? Elena seemed to be surprised for a long time before she laughed. Is a mere Bei Yunj worth you being so angry? Bei Yunj became a B rank member with Du Xiao's help. And I'm still a D rank now. Qin Youjiao's expression was dark. Du Xiao actually let people get in through the back door? Elena laughed and comforted her quickly. Youjiao, Du Xiao isn't the only one who has the final say in the International Musicians Association. Didn't I bring you to see the people from the International Musicians Alliance a while ago? You can use my name to get that person from the International Musicians Alliance to help you solve your problem. Hearing this, Qin Youjiao's ugly expression turned brighter. Backed in manner. Bei Yunj glanced at the missed calls and continued to sit in the flower bed covered by the semicircular glass, watering the roses. Next to him, Steward's son wanted to say something but hesitated. He really wanted to snatch the watering can from Bei Yunj's hands. These Juliet roses are worth thousands of gold. Each flower was worth 3 million in country R's currency. If converted to country A, one flower would be worth 30 million yuan. That was why it had another name, 3 million roses. Moreover, just the daily care of the top-notch craftsman was not cheap. Miss, they're not fish. You don't have to water them like that. Steward's son braced himself and said. Bei Yunj came to her senses and only stopped when she saw that the roses under her hand were about to be submerged in the water. However, just as housekeeper's son thought that the little ancestor was finally ready to go back, Bei Yunj suddenly received a phone call. Guer? Just now, the roses in your flower bed were so beautiful. I picked one. The director said that this rose is very suitable for shooting a music video. Can I buy it from you? Yu Manran said happily. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. How many do you want? About 100. Yu Manran said. All right, I'll send it to you later. Bei Yunj hung up the phone, turned around, picked up the scissors, and started cutting the roses. Steward's son almost fainted on the spot. Miss, what are you doing? Steward's son's voice trembled. P.S. On Monday, it's time for the children to vote for Bei Yunj. Chapter 891. When Butler's son saw Bei Yunj cut off 3 roses at once, his heart ached. He felt that even his breath was filled with the scent of money passing away. My friend is filming a music video and wants roses. Bei Yunj glanced at him and continued cutting. Butler's son's body was already stiff. His heart was trembling with the crisp sound of the scissors. It was as if she was not cutting roses but his heart. Originally, Yu Manran had asked him this morning if he could pick a rose and he had agreed. After all, Bei Yunj and Yu Manran had a good relationship. But to pick 100 Juliet roses? What kind of joke was this? Can't you? Ask her to buy some other roses? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and affirmed, "Our roses look better than the ones outside." Butler Sun was speechless. 3 million roses, gold coins planted in the soil, how could they not look good? Moreover, Bacton Manor even had the best soil quality for cultivating Juliet's roses. The rose of Juliet here was much more precious than the rose of Juliet in other places. Many people wanted to enter Bacton Manor and see the world-famous rose garden with their own eyes. Even the Fue Rose Garden was just an imitation. After half a year of transplanting, they still could not raise the Juliet roses and could only plant other varieties. But who would have thought that someone would pick the Juliet roses to film a music video? Was this something a human would do? "Miss, this is really expensive, very expensive." Butler Sun went up and grabbed Bei Yunja's scissors. His gaze was alert, as if he was protecting his own child. Bei Yunj hesitated. "How about 90 roses?" Butler Sun was expressionless. He was just short of holding a knife to his neck to demonstrate. In the end, Bei Yunj only took 60 Juliet roses and cut 50 Louis XIV roses at the edge of the garden before leaving with a big bouquet of flowers. Butler Sun looked at the small piece of the garden that was missing and felt his heart ache. His vision turned black and he almost needed a quick-acting heart reliever. At the filming location, the director stared at the Juliet roses and felt that they were a little familiar. He turned around and asked, "Guer, how much are these roses?" Bei Yunj thought for a moment. It should be quite expensive. After all, Butler Sun had almost detained her just now and forbade her from leaving with the roses. The director laughed heartily and felt that the young lady was really interesting. How expensive could 100 roses be? "How about this? We'll treat it as our MV company's expenses. I'll get someone to check it out. This rose is really pretty." At this moment, the director still didn't know what kind of reality he was about to face. "No need." Bei Yunj was just about to refuse when the director interrupted. "Hey! Are you looking down on me? Do I look like someone who can't even afford 100 roses?" After that, the director took a picture and showed it to his assistant. He even mumbled, "I'm going to buy roses like this for my wife on Valentine's Day." Bei Yunja's eyelids twitched, but she simply let him be. However, just a few minutes ago, the director had asked the staff to remove the petals and spread them all over the floor. The assistant suddenly gave him a call. The director didn't answer the call the first time, but the call came in a few more times. The director frowned. "You're on the 3rd floor of the ancient castle, yet you still called me? Are you crazy?" The assistant took a deep breath. He had just checked the variety of roses and his mind was still a little messy. "I'm sorry, director. My legs are still weak and I can't go downstairs. Where did you get these roses?" Chapter 892. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Qin Yu's sister brought them from home. The director frowned. I asked you to pay the bill. Why are you so slow?" The assistant said. "Then our funds might not be enough." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Before the director could finish scolding, his body suddenly trembled. What's not enough?" The assistant took a deep breath. "Director, there are at least 50 to 60 Juliet roses in the roses brother Yu's sister brought. According to our country's currency, one rose is close to 30 million yuan. If we buy all of them, it will cost about 1 billion yuan." With that said, the director smashed his phone down and could only hear the assistant's helpless cries. 1 billion yuan. The director felt that his scalp was no longer his own. He could not understand such a rich person. He turned his head stiffly and slowly to look at Bei Yunj. "What roses are those? Juliet roses?" Bei Yunj played with her phone as she said without thinking, "I think that's the name." The director was speechless. Why the F***ck were you running around with roses worth more than 1 billion yuan? All of a sudden, the director remembered something and his scalp turned numb. He had just gone to get the stage manager to remove the petals of the Juliet roses. The director suddenly sobered up and immediately picked up the loudspeaker on the table, rushing into the venue without care. It was everyone's first time seeing a director who was out of shape run as fast as he could. At this moment, as the director ran with all his might, he shouted into the loudspeaker in a shrill and panicked voice, "All of you, F***king stop! Let go of those roses. Don't King remove the petals. In the entire castle, the director's voice seemed to linger, making everyone sober up. Bei Yunj was speechless. Everyone was also confused. Bei Yunj did not know much about rose varieties. Seeing the director's expression, she also searched online. A minute later, Bei Yunj suddenly understood why Butler's son looked at her as if he wanted to die together with her. What was Nance thinking? She actually raised a few hundred square meters of Juliet roses? However, this was enough to show how wealthy the Higgins family was back then. Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. After a moment of silence, she quietly transferred double the amount of money to Butler Sunday. After a few words of comfort, she asked Butler's son to pick his favorite Juliet roses and transplant them. Meanwhile, the director had already rescued 58 Juliet roses, and 2 of them had already been plucked into petals. Seeing this situation, the director would rather he be the one being torn into pieces. This was 60 million. Director, what's wrong with you? Qin Yu had just returned and didn't know what had happened. The director's eyelids twitched and his entire body trembled. Brother Yu, I'll work for you in the future. He could not afford to repay this debt. He had never thought that the Qin family would be so rich that they would allow Bei Yunj to raise Juliet roses. Hearing this, Qin Yu could not help but sneer. Are you kidding me? Will you accept my salary? Director Liu was also a famous director. This time, it was also because he had a good relationship with Qin Yu that he had used his talents to manage the music video. The director felt a dull ache in his heart. You don't have to pay me. I'm paying off my debt. Qin Yu was speechless. What the hell was going on? Then, Bei Yunj and Yu Manran came over. Chapter 893. Director. Didn't you say that rose petals are used to lay out the red carpet? Why are there only 2 petals? Let me help you. Yu Manran had just finished speaking when he was stopped by the director. Don't do anything rash. Bei Yunj glanced at the table of roses and asked, Is it not enough? When the money was transferred over, Butler's son was quite happy. Perhaps he would agree to send a few more over. The director was so frightened by Bei Yunj that he almost broke out in cold sweat and shook his head crazily. Enough. Enough. Then let's film quickly. With that said, Bei Yunj walked to the side and started to deal with Higgins's project. The filming continued. The director gave off a nervous and crazy feeling. He warned everyone to place the roses properly on the red carpet, especially the 60 Juliet roses. They must not forget to sprinkle water. This was the aura of money. Just as Yu Manran and Qin Yu were about to enter the venue to film, they heard the director shouting from time to time, Qin Yu, be careful of the roses under your feet. Don't step on them. Yu Manran, I'm warning you. Be gentle. Roses are alive. Everyone was speechless. Why did they feel that these roses were treated more like humans than extras? The filming was almost over. The director rubbed his hands nervously and walked in front of Bei Yunj. These roses, he said stiffly. I might not be able to pay it back immediately, but I can pay it back slowly. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow and glanced at the director. No need. Treat it as a gift from me. The director was caught off guard with a look of surprise. Really? Suddenly, everyone heard the female lead scream. Yu Manran ran to Bei Yunj with a face full of fear, almost fainting. This rose costs 30 million yuan each? Right? Bei Yunj said slowly. Yu Manran was speechless. 30 million yuan worth of roses. No wonder the butler felt so pained when he cut a rose for her. He also told her to preserve it carefully and that it could be used as a plant specimen. This year is the only year in which I've earned more. I'll return a portion of it to you first. I'll take on more endorsements in the future. Before Yu Manran could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Bei Yunj. No need. But this is too expensive. Bei Yunj, isn't it almost your birthday? Consider it my birthday present to you. The director looked at Yu Manran enviously. To be able to ride on someone's coattails at such a young age was truly amazing. You're too good to me. Yu Manran immediately felt a lump in his throat. He immediately ran to another place and called Yu Hanran while crying. Brother. Yu Hanran, who was working, suddenly felt his heart tighten. He wasn't as carefree as usual and his voice was a little nervous. What's wrong, man? You will inherit the family business in the future. The director looked at Man enviously. To be able to ride on someone's coattails at such a young age was truly amazing. You're too good to me. Man immediately felt a lump in his throat. He immediately ran to another place and called Ran while crying. Brother. Ran, who was working, suddenly felt his heart tighten. He wasn't as carefree as usual and his voice was a little nervous. What's wrong, man? You will inherit the family business in the future. Ran, who was working, suddenly felt his heart tighten. He wasn't as carefree as usual and his voice was a little nervous. What's wrong? Chapter 894. The filming continued. Outside the venue. Bei Yunj received a call. She asked in a low voice. What's the matter? There's a high-level order this month, but the member who originally accepted the order is not around. How about you take it? Kay asked excitedly. Not much. Bei Yunj chuckled slowly. Did you forget that I haven't officially joined the association yet? Kay was speechless. He knew that she was not easy to get along with. Max, do me a favor. That 70 million yuan order is really important. Before Kay could finish speaking, he was interrupted by her voice. Remember to transfer the money. With that said, Bei Yunj hung up the call. Kay was left in a daze. He could not believe that she agreed so quickly. Big boss. Is she short of money? Kay muttered to himself hesitantly. Bei Yunj was also thinking about the time when she would return to the country. After all, she was still in the preparation stage for the Computing Institute project. She thought for a moment. Bei Yunj seemed to have thought of something and sent a photo of the flower bed to Song Yao. Yunja's song. Do you want it? If it was any other time, Song Yao would definitely reply quickly, but it was strangely quiet today. Bei Yunj thought that Song Yao was busy and did not pay much attention to it. At the same time, she looked up and saw a familiar man walking over from not too far away. Bei Yunj raised an eyebrow, but quickly looked away and continued to play with her phone. Master Du, Miss Pei is there, Assistant Sung reminded carefully. Yesterday, when Bei Yunj did not go back with Huashidu, Assistant Sung felt that something was wrong with the two of them. It was also Huashidu's first time facing a situation where the little girl was throwing a tantrum. He bit his cigarette carelessly, the cigarette but burning red and then exhaling a faint mist. In the dark, Bei Yunj looked at him from the corner of her eye and saw Huashidu's slender and well-defined fingers tapping the cigarette ash carelessly. He looked a little attractive. The man was good-looking. Even the cigarette in his mouth was flirtatious. As Bei Yunj thought about this, the man had already quietly walked over to her side. However, in the next moment, she suddenly heard the director announce that the filming had ended. She quickly regained her senses and looked up at Huashidu. Her eyes curved. Master Du, why are you here? Then I won't disturb you anymore. You can continue with your work. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, she walked directly to Manrin's side and followed him to the lounge. At this moment, seeing this scene, Assistant Seng's heart skipped a beat. This was the first time Miss Pei addressed Master Du in such a manner. Obviously, he was very angry. The next moment, just as Assistant Seng thought that Huashidu would be angry, the man was silent for a while before he suddenly chuckled softly. This shocked Assistant Seng so much that he froze. Did Master Du completely lose his temper in front of Miss Pei? How could he still laugh after being treated like that by Miss Pei? In the lounge. Ancestor, are you angry with Master Du? No, Father Pei, if you're angry with him, you can hide anywhere but me. Manran had always been afraid of Huashidu. He had been like this since he was young. Who knew? Bei Yunj glanced at her indifferently. Why? Didn't you just say that you would shield me from the wind and rain? You can't even shield Huashidu? Manran instantly fell silent. Looking at Manran's pitiful expression, Bei Yunj curved her lips again and reached out to touch Manran's face. Man, do me a favor? Manran looked at Bei Yunj's curved eyes and his heart turned cold. P.S. It's a little laggy, so the update will be late. Obedient girls, wake up tomorrow to read it. End of this chapter. Chapter 895. Inside the door, Yu Manran looked at his Bei Yunj clothes and turned around pitifully. Master Pei, are you really going to treat me like this? Bei Yunj raised his eyebrows and comforted him with a smile. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Yu Manran. You will be fine, but I'm not sure. Yu Manran took a deep breath and closed his eyes. After lowering the brim of his hat, he pushed open the door and ran away. Bei Yunj waited in the lounge for about 3 minutes before she quietly pushed the door open and left. Outside the door, only the staff were left. Bei Yunj quickened her footsteps. After leaving the castle, she walked towards a place with a lot of people. But what she did not expect was 10 minutes later, Bei Yunj sensed that something was wrong. In the blink of an eye, she saw a black car driving slowly behind her. Bei Yunj met a certain someone's eyes. There was an endless stream of traffic on the bridge. It was as if only the two of them existed in this noisy world. The man held the steering wheel with one hand and a cigarette between his fingers with the other. He leaned against the car window lightly. His eyes were slightly raised, and the corners of his upturned eyes were even more seductive. He lit the cigarette and scattered the ashes. His low and lazy laughter was especially deadly. It was a gentleness that made people blush and their hearts beat faster. Miss, isn't it time to go home with me? Bei Yunj. Even Bei Yunj's heart started to beat faster. However, a moment later, she thought of the woman leaning on his shoulder yesterday. He could talk and laugh like this with other women. Bei Yunj could not help but curse softly. Bastard. Womanizing. By the time she finished cursing irrationally and reacted, she had already heard the man's voice. Ha! Huashidu licked his lips. His eyes were dark and unreadable. He asked with an angry smile, Are you scolding me, Yunyun? This was the first time he had heard Bei Yunj scold him. This form of address made him want to laugh. Bei Yunj looked up at him and felt inexplicably guilty. Half a minute later, she was the first to admit defeat and looked away. Don't be rude. Just when she thought that Huashidu had finished reprimanding her, she heard him say in a gentle voice, Why are you trying to flirt with me? Bei Yunj. The expression on her face froze for a moment before she quickly turned around and left. Seeing this, Huashidu quickly opened the car door and chased after him. Only assistant Sang hurriedly came out from the back seat and parked the car. At the park square by the river, the people coming and going could only see a handsome man in a suit and leather shoes striding forward, following Bei Yunj in front of him. Yunyun. High heels are very tiring. The man chuckled behind her. He had never seen Bei Yunj wear high heels. He had only heard Chris Vernon say that wearing good shoes was one of the most painful things in a woman's life. Without thinking, he knew that that pair of shoes belonged to Yu Manran. Bei Yunj had indeed not worn them much. These were new shoes that the assistant had prepared for Yu Manran, so her heels were red. However, when she heard the man behind her say this, Bei Yunj threw off her shoes and walked barefoot on the square. The scene that landed in the eyes of the others was, a beautiful and unruly girl pursed her red lips and walked forward without looking back, but for some reason, she made people feel proud and angry. The refined and dignified man behind her bent down to pick up the pair of high heels and coaxed her with a smile. This man was so handsome that people could not close their legs. His smile was too charming. End of chapter. Chapter 896. Yunyun, the ground is cold. If it was in the past, Bei Yunj would have softened when she heard Huashidu coaxing her like this. However, when she thought of Huashidu being intimate with that woman, Bei Yunj's eyes darkened. For the first time, she felt as if her heart was being pricked by a needle. She pursed her lips and suddenly turned around. But she did not expect. The next second, the man behind her grabbed her waist and carried her up horizontally. His right hand was even holding her high heels. Bei Yunj leaned against his warm body and could only smell the faint, pleasant and cold scent on the man's body. I can let you torture me, but don't torture yourself, do you hear me? Huashidu looked at the person in his arms who had yet to react. He wanted to try biting her and make the little girl cry once so that she would remember. However, in the next moment, he retracted his gaze and licked the tip of his teeth that were itching. He hid the desire in his eyes and returned to his nonchalant appearance. Bei Yunj pursed her lips and did not speak. The people who were watching the two of them not far away could no longer control their young hearts. For the first time, they felt that the plot of an idol drama was so real. By the park bench, The man put her down gently and bent one knee slightly to look up at her. Are you really going to ignore me? Wuxia looked at her for a while, then lowered his eyes casually. He held her cold bare feet with both hands and placed them on his lap. He used his hands to warm her up. The little girl was indeed childish. It was such a cold day, yet she was walking barefoot on the ground. Bei Yunj instinctively retracted her feet, but the man held them firmly and she could not break free. She lowered her eyes and could see this refined and noble man kneeling in front of her on one knee, holding her feet with his head lowered. Even Bei Yunj suddenly had the illusion that this man would indulge her no matter how arrogant she was. After regaining her senses, Bei Yunj felt that this man in front of her was too lethal. He was so lethal that as long as he wanted, she could probably break any bottom line for him. Suddenly, the man's low and magnetic voice interrupted her thoughts. You won't calm down no matter what, right? Bei Yunj hesitated for a moment and looked up to meet the man's unwavering gaze. Suddenly, Bei Yunj saw the man chuckle softly. His posture was casual and ostentatious, and his eyes were slightly raised as he looked straight at her. His husky and magnetic voice was so ambiguous that it made her blush and her heart race. He coaxed her intimately. Do you want to touch my Adam's apple? You only have one chance, Yun. Bei Yunj instinctively looked up and her gaze landed on the man's sexy Adam's apple, and the mole that was extremely lustful. His heart wavered. The man took in her expression and chuckled in a low voice. His eyes were so dark that they could not be seen clearly. He leaned closer to her, and his low voice was blatantly seductive. Don't you like it? If she doesn't touch it, Yun will be at a disadvantage. When Bei Yunj heard this, she really reached out her hand and wanted to touch the mole on the man's Adam's apple. But when he really touched it, his ears inexplicably burned. What was she doing? Bei Yunj had just looked up when she met the man's explicit and burning gaze. Bei Yunj's body froze, but in the next moment, Wuxia's thin lips curled up. He suddenly lowered his head and kissed her hand. Bei Yunj's mind went blank because of the man's actions. She then heard the man's low and hoarse laughter, as if he was deliberately teasing her eardrums. All right. You even took advantage of brother. Yun has to be responsible for brother. P.S. The aphrodisiac in the human world, Wuxia. End of this chapter. Chapter 897. As soon as he finished speaking, before Bei Yunj could react, Wuxia had already wrapped one hand around her leg and the other around her waist, lifting her up easily. She looked up at him instinctively. The darkness in her eyes disappeared as she clenched her fists quietly. Actually, Bei Yunj had always known that she was another Meng Liang in her bones. She might be a lunatic when it came to relationships. She was extremely sensitive and lacked self-awareness. However, before Bei Yunj could think deeply, she suddenly heard the man's soft laughter. However, his deep and magnetic voice had a tone that made people blush and their hearts race. He casually whispered into her ear, I don't have much experience in coaxing people. You have to teach me, Yun. With that said, seeing that the little girl was still in a daze, the man seemed to be deliberately leaning closer to her. His thin lips curled up and he rubbed his forehead gently against hers. It was natural and intimate, as if he was acting coquettishly with her. Even if he did not say a word, he could make people feel a dense electric current run up the back of their necks and into their brains. It was so sexy. Don't rub against me. When Bei Yunj sensed the gazes around her, she instinctively wanted to press down on the brim of her hat, but realized that she was not wearing a hat. All right, brother, restrain yourself, the man replied unhurriedly. Bei Yunj, what do you want to eat when you get back? Wuxia continued to ask. Bei Yunj, anything is fine. She did not know how Wuxia found out that the first person to walk out was Yuman Ran. The two of them were clearly about the same size. Okay, then let the Neely chefs who came today make their specialties. Wuxia smiled. Until they got into the car. Assistant Tseng understood and opened the door for the back of the car and closed the partition. When is Yun planning to return to Yuncheng? Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved. Tomorrow. Then I'll get Sang Su to book the plane tickets. Bei Yunj glanced at him. What about you? Hearing this, the man looked up and chuckled. The emotions in his eyes flickered as he looked at her. Child, why do you think I came to Neely? She quickly looked away as if she had been scolded.
Yesterday, didn't you and that woman? He was halfway through his words.
The voice stopped abruptly. However, when Wuxia heard her half-finished words and coupled with the little girl's fussing over the past 2 days, he quickly realized the reason. The man's beautiful eyes curled up, and he leaned against the car seat in a lazy and ostentatious manner. His laughter was low and hoarse, and it was particularly ticklish. However, his eyes were fixed on her. So our Yun likes brother so much? Bei Yunj. She knew that this person really didn't know how to speak human language. Yun, even if you don't like her, you'll still see her in the future. Wuxia seemed to be holding back his laughter, but his pale-colored eyes were straight and charming. There was an ambiguous ambiguity in them as he dragged out his last word. After all, she's my biological aunt. Bei Yunj froze. That woman was really too young and beautiful. She did not feel like an elder at all. However, if you really can't accept it, brother won't bring Yun to see her in the future, the man said slowly. Bei Yunj. She had been careless. Just as Bei Yunj was thinking about how to apologize in a more tactful manner without losing face, the man stretched out his hand lazily again and gently scratched her chin. He asked casually, "Am I that bad? Did I dote on you for nothing? P.S. It's no wonder that Master Pei is obsessed with beauty. As long as Master Du appears, there will be 8 out of 10 messages backstage, and the screams will be posted on the public screen." End of this chapter. Chapter 898. Bei Yunj looked at him for a while. "No, I'm sorry," she added. "Brother." The man lifted his thin eyelids and looked at her calmly with his dark eyes. "What did you do to apologize to me?" Just as Bei Yunj thought of several answers and felt that she could not say them out loud, the man's eyes darkened even more as he sorted out his emotions. He lowered his voice carelessly, seductive and gentle as he said patiently, "If you didn't do anything wrong, why did you apologize to me?" He retracted his gaze and gently pinched her cheek. Yun, to you, I have to be different from others." The man smirked, making her like him grow like weeds. Soon his casual voice landed by her ear. It was so ambiguous that it made her blush and her heart beat faster. "Don't you understand? Brother only torments our Yun." Bei Yunj was speechless. When he said this, it was inexplicably flirtatious. At night, Bei Yunj sat in front of the computer and glanced at the advanced order sent by Kay. She quickly looked away and started to deal with it. About half an hour later, Bei Yunj called Kay. "The order is done. Get him to transfer the rest of the bill." Kay could not help but be shocked. So fast? Didn't he just give it to her today? This order was not easy. How good was Max's computer skills? "It's all right. If you still have the order, you can give me more in the next 2 days," Bei Yunj replied slowly and turned off her computer. Kay said, "Big boss, are you short of money?" Bei Yunj's eyebrows moved and she said lazily, It's not easy to raise the flowers at home." Kay was confused. What did she mean by it was not easy to raise flowers? Was Max's family so poor? Were they so poor just to raise flowers? But that shouldn't be the case. Her order was 70 million yuan. No matter what, she could buy a flower bed. Could it be that Max's family owed a huge sum of money to loan sharks? Kay kept imagining things. Bei Yunj did not care and hung up the call. Then, she glanced at Song Yao's message. She had not replied yet. Bei Yunj's eyes darkened as she thought about something. However, what Bei Yunj did not expect was that she would just tell Kay that. CI7 Intelligence Bureau's rumors about her spread like wildfire. From the beginning, it was a version of, Kay said that Max owed a huge amount of money and had to come to CI7 to repay his debt. In the end, it became, Max was caught robbing a bank. In order to pay back 10 times the compensation, he borrowed a huge amount of money from Kay, so he had no choice but to come to CI7 to repay the debt. The rumors were so vivid and convincing that people believed them. The next day, sitting in his office, Kay was bored to death as he checked Bei Yunj's order. Suddenly he froze. Order accepted. October 25, 10:27. Completion date. October 25, 10:51. So, she didn't use a day to complete this order. In less than half an hour? Kay suddenly had goosebumps on his back.
He knew why the people of the Chaosists had told him that they had sent a god to CI7.
Half an hour. Even the senior members could not compare to this efficiency. Kay hurriedly called Chief Jiang Song of the Yuncheng branch and told him about Bei Yunj. However, just as Jiang Song put down the phone in shock after hearing the situation, a woman walked in. "Chief, give that order to me. I don't think anyone can complete this order." Chapter 899. Jiang Song frowned subconsciously.
Then, he looked at the woman in front of him and said calmly, "No need."
His words made the confident smile on the woman's face freeze. "What do you mean?"
Jiang Song ignored the gloomy expression of the person in front of him and said calmly, "The matter has been resolved."
He moved the mouse and looked at the reply of the person who placed the order. He raised his eyebrows. And the person who placed the order is very interested in the new person. "You let someone else take my order?" Jiang Song. The woman's expression darkened. She clenched her fists. "Qing Lu, you said that there were too many orders and that you couldn't take them all." "You!" The woman gritted her teeth. They knew that Qing Lu didn't do it because there were too many orders. She just didn't like the branch and deliberately made things difficult for them. This customer who placed the order had worked with Qing Lu many times. The amount of the order was big enough. She was Qing Lu's big customer. Qing Lu was now an intermediate member. She relied on this person to be promoted to an advanced member. "Chief, are you sure you're not mistaken? I've only been out for a few days and the order given by my old customer is really completed?" Qing Lu narrowed her eyes. "Qing Lu, don't cause trouble. You can be promoted to the headquarters after taking 3 more advanced orders this year." Jiang Song's tone was indifferent, but there was a warning. No matter what, Max was sent by the headquarters. It could be seen that the deputy chief of the headquarters valued Max very much. When Qing Lu heard this, she couldn't help but sneer and leave the branch. Jiang Song looked at Qing Lu's situation and knew that she didn't listen. In the villa, Qing Lu looked at her background and pursed her lips. Soon, she found the person who accepted the order. Username, max level, private, age of entry. 2 days in an instant. Qing Lu's expression turned ugly. This Max had only been in for 2 days and she had already taken her advanced order. But what did this private mean? Generally, members below the advanced level couldn't hide their user level unless they deliberately did so. Qing Lu pursed her lips. She saw this person as a thorn in her side. At the same time, in the office, Jiang Song smoked while looking at Max's user information. Username, max level, platinum member, hidden. Jiang Song laughed. The higher-ups really value her. It's no wonder. Entry was a platinum user. Apart from a few senior members, no one else received such treatment. However, Max didn't seem to be interested in CI7 at all. Instead, it was as if the people from the headquarters were shamelessly clinging on to her. Backton Manor. Stewart Sun's heart ached when he saw Bei Yunj squatting in front of the flower bed and picking out a few of the most beautiful Juliet roses. "Uncle Sun, I'll take these 7. If it weren't for the fact that Neely was too far away from Yun City and Bei Yunj wasn't willing to take more, they would probably be able to gather a large bouquet of roses. "All right." Stewart Sun put on a fake smile and brought the 7 Juliets to make a bouquet. "When will Miss come back?" he asked as he picked out other decorations. "I don't know." Bei Yunj added, "If you need to pay for the manor, you can directly transfer it to my account." "Yes, Mississippi," Butler Sun nodded. After making a bouquet of roses, he handed it to her. "Have a safe trip." "Thank you, Uncle Sunday." When the plane arrived in Yun City, it was 10 in the morning the next day. Bei Yunj called Song Yao, but no one picked up. Her eyebrows moved instinctively and her eyes darkened. P.S. I wrote a bug yesterday. K is the founder of the Chaotic. So I changed the character of the CI7 headquarters. Deputy Director, Shen Yuan. End of chapter. Chapter 900. Bei Yunj went to Song Yao's house, but there was no one there. Mrs. Song's shop was also closed. Soon, she called Lu Jiyan from the investigation team. "Has Fu Yanbai come out?" The other party was silent for a moment. Then, just as Lu Jiyan was about to speak, Bei Yunj hung up and called Shen Yuan directly. "Max." It was Shen Yuan's first time being called by Max and he was a little flattered. Bei Yunj suppressed the impatience in her voice. Help me investigate someone now. She really knew how to make use of resources. Max, you've only accepted one case. I've settled all the 8 cases you gave me yesterday. Bei Yunj's words stunned Shen Yuan. Even the elders did not dare to accept those 8 cases. He had only given them to her as a last resort. She had actually completed it? How did you? My friend is missing. I'm looking for her. Bei Yunj's voice was a little impatient. Missing? Give me her information. Shen Yuan said quickly. About half an hour later, Shen Yuan gave the results of Song Yao's investigation to Bei Yunj. It was a kidnapping. At the pier. Behind them were black and blue waves. The sky was not considered blue and was dark and gray. It made one feel depressed. Don't waste your energy. I'll wait for him to come and ransom her today. A fat man in his 40s was wearing a blue shirt that was not considered clean and was a little slovenly. He smoked a cigarette, a cold smile in his eyes. Rich people are indeed different. They have 2 women by their side. But this is interesting. The fat man sized up Song Yao, who was pursing her lips, and Yu Ling, who was beside her with a frightened expression. Who do you think he will save with the money? I only gave him a chance to save one person. Song Yao's gentle eyes were expressionless. She only glanced at the phone not far away, took a deep breath, and closed her eyes. However, Yu Ling glanced at Song Yao and a trace of ridicule flashed past her eyes. Fu Yanbai would come and save her? Wishful thinking. Brother. If you let me go, Yanbai will give you a lot of money. This woman. She's not important to Fu Yanbai at all. Yu Ling finally said what she wanted to say in her heart. However, the fat man only glanced at Yu Ling, his eyes cold. Then, his attention was attracted by Song Yao's ringtone. The fat man raised his eyebrows. Your friend is very concerned about you. She called more than Fu Yanbai today. Aren't you going to beg me to get someone else to ransom you? Brother, was the person who called you yesterday your child? Song Yao suddenly asked. It's none of your business. The fat man's expression turned ferocious as if he was right. If you tie me up, what will happen to your son in the future? Song Yao's words made the fat man waver. It's none of your business. The Fu Corporation owes me a life. If it weren't for them, my wife wouldn't have died. Fu Yanbai should pay his debt. The fat man said through gritted teeth. Haven't you thought about what kind of life that child will lead without parents in the future? Song Yao asked. The fat man's body stiffened, but his eyes were filled with hatred. Suddenly, a limousine appeared not far away. 7 to 8 people walked out. I'm here to ransom him. Let him go. Fu Yanbai threw the suitcase on the ground and got someone to open it. The suitcase was full of cash. Then, who is young Master Fu planning to ransom? The fat man quickly entered a state of alert and said with a smile, Don't act rashly. I have a bomb tied to me. If you're not afraid of everyone dying together, be more obedient. End of chapter. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.